Hi.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm Christian. I guess we can go with like Aquinas's argument for theological purpose, which is going to be far more expected and accounted for under a theistic account. I take it you're familiar with the argument. If not, I could present it to you really quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So premise one seems to be trivial, but if a hypothesis accounts for another hypothesis with far more explanatory power, a less arbitrary assumption, we should favor that one. Do you agree?
Sure.
Premise two, humans are rational, flourishing agents. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
Premise three, Christianity predicts this better than naturalism. You disagree? All right,
Disagree.
yeah, that's definitely good. Let's get into it, man. Yeah, so given a hypothesis in which the Christian God exists, it would be far more expected that rational agents would exist. This is just going to be analytically true in virtue of Christianity. Given that a Christian God would sovereignly will creatures to serve him, worship him, and that he can love. I mean, that's just analytically true in virtue of the Christianity schema. Under a naturalistic account, however, it seems as if, evolution is not going to have any intent. There's no reason for evolution to act the way that it does. There's no explanation for why evolution acts the way that it does, nor is there any expectability in regards to rational agents such as our self-existing. However, all these things could be far more accounted for under a Christian hypothesis.
Yeah, you're just saying that it's more accounted for, right? It's more likely under Christianity, but that's an assumption you're making. I don't see why naturalism doesn't explain rational agents.
Okay. Yeah, let me be a bit more blatant here. So,
Yeah.
in virtue of naturalism, I'm taking that you hold to evolution, correct? Or if not, I don't want to misrepresent you.
Yeah, evolution is a
Okay.
fact. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if we just grant evolution to be the case here, and obviously you already agreed to premise two in respects to rational agents existing, evolution obviously is unpredictable. There's no reason for it to act the way that it does. There's no reason for it to, unless you
What do you
disagree.
mean it's unpredictable? What do you mean?
Yeah, so in respects to that hypothesis in which evolution is going to be the case, say that we obviously do get rational agents such as ourselves, there is no problem with saying that could have not been the case. There is no reason for evolution to predict such rational agents to the extent of our inquiry. They could have, not produced this. They could have produced elephants with rationality. They could have produced a fish, a goldfish with rationality. It could have been severely any other way.
Well,
That
but
could have
there is a
obviously not been in
mechanism. The
respects to
point is that there
humans.
is a mechanism for which rational agents would emerge under naturalism. We have a mechanism. It is evolution,
Okay,
right?
what is the
So,
explanation for why that mechanism exists?
but what's the explanation for why God exists, right? You're just you're,
Yeah,
you're
we
just
can definitely
adding
get into
another
that.
commitment to your view by saying God. By the
Yeah.
way, we have no priors for God. We do have priors for evolution.
Yeah, so let's all yeah, it's a phenomenal point. So before I take on the burden of why God exists, would you be willing to give me the explanation in respects to that mechanism you proposed?
Yeah, natural selection.
Not okay, but why is that the case?
What do you mean? Why is it the case?
Yeah, so the mechanism which is going to account for rational creatures such as ourselves is going to be explained by a mechanism which is going to be accounted for under a natural selection. But why is that the case?
Yeah, because natural selection favors truth tracking abilities, right? It helps
I don't know that
survival.
to be true. What's the argument for that?
The argument is that when you have an agent who is trying to survive, they're going to have certain accuracy. They're going to have certain brains or nervous systems that can accurately represent reality in order to survive. If you have too many false things or false beliefs, or too many, problems in its accuracy in determining what's true, then you get something that is less likely to survive.
That did not answer my question. But let's just say I
What are you
grant
talking
that.
about?
That
I
was like
just
kind of a
explained to
nothing
you how
burger.
natural selection favors rational agents,
Yeah,
or
but
at least not agents, but at least beings with the ability to ration.
yeah, but you're not giving me the accountant in regards to why that would be the case under naturalism. Like, why do they even have to exist in the first place? That's like the
We
meat and
can ask
potatoes of
this
what I'm
about
trying to get
God.
at.
Why does God have to exist in the first place? Again,
Yeah,
this is a
given that
different
if it's going
question.
to, well,
This is
no,
a
I mean,
different
I could
question.
definitely give an
Look,
explanation in respects to
look,
that, but I don't want to burden you
no,
with
look.
it.
Natural selection's a fact. Like natural evolution's a fact. We know it happens. We know that it
I don't
leads
know
to
that to be
rational.
true.
We know that it leads to rationality. That's just
I
another
don't know that
fact,
to be
right?
true. That's what's in question. How do we know that's
It's
the
not what's in
case?
question. Well, obviously, we understand the mechanism. Natural selection
Do
leads
we?
to rationality
I'm not sure we
based
do.
on survivability,
Why is that the case?
because the beings who don't do that do not survive.
Why is that the case? Yeah, that's circular.
What do you mean? Why
Obviously,
is that the
it's trivia. It's
case? The
trivia.
beings who there, so obviously you're going to be more likely to survive if you're able to accurately represent reality in
Yeah,
your mind, right? Do you agree?
yeah, that's trivial. That's not what's up for
Okay, great.
dispute,
So
though.
then obviously evolution gives us the mechanism that renders beings with accurate representations of reality, right?
Yeah,
And
so there's a
then
huge misunderstanding here, and I want to highlight on what that is. Obviously, it's trivial. If we have agents in which do not have the rational cognition that's going to be necessary to obviously survival for the fittest, then they're obviously not going to survive. That's not what it's up for dispute. I'm simply asking in regards to why do these rational agents have the rational flourishing account of rationality that's going to be necessary to extend their living conditions. Why does that happen under naturalism?
survivability.
Surv- Okay, that's why
Yeah,
does
and
that
then
happen?
so
Could you be a bit more?
our rationality aided our survivability. That's why it occurred.
But why is that the case? That's like the
Because
point
the
I'm
one
trying to get
because if
here.
you don't survive, you die and you go extinct.
Yeah, you're just not
Yeah,
answering
yeah,
the
yeah.
question.
So what's the problem? I don't understand
Yeah, so I'm
what you're
asking
confused
you
about.
what's
What are you
going to
confused
occur.
about here?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite simple. The chat also agrees that you're not answering the question. I'm simply just asking, in regards to the mechanism that's going to account for rational agents having the flourishing that they need to, obviously survive. Why does that mechanism act towards a rational process which accommodates rational creatures?
Because the ones that can't survive, they die out. The ones that do survive, they go on to spread their genes.
You're just literally not answering the question. This is insane.
And I'm answering directly, right? The ones that rational agents are more likely to survive because they're able to actually track reality better.
But why is that the case in respects to the
Because
rational
if you're
nuance
not
of
able to
no
track
thing?
reality as well, you die. You're
You're
more
just
likely to die, right? So the ones who are more rational survive.
yeah, you're just literally not answering my question.
What am I not answering? I don't understand.
You keep saying the most trivial thing that if you do not have the rational cognition that's going to be necessary to survive, you're going to die. Obviously. But the rational necessary precondition that the rational agents do uphold to, why is that the case?
For the ones that do have it, why is it the case?
Why is it
Because
the case
that's
that they
how
have
their
that?
evolutionary trajectory occurred.
Why?
Why? Because of natural selection. Again, evolution is the
Why is
mechanism.
it the
Why?
case?
Because again, it's all interconnected. The different species that exist, they all interact together. The ones that survive
Why?
better, they survive more. And we happen because of natural selection.
Why does natural selection work the way that it does?
What?
Why does natural selection work the way that it does?
Why does it work the way that it does?
That was the question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, because the universe, just the laws of physics work that way. That's just a natural disposition.
Okay, so far we have about 3 arbitrary answers. You're just saying that it just is. So
Yeah,
if we
the
just go
laws
back
of
to
physics are just
premise
the way
one,
they are, right? Why does God's laws operate the way
yeah, we
God's
can definitely
laws
get into
do,
that.
right? Why did God want rational agents? God could have made non-rational agents,
Presumably, yeah,
right?
definitely.
So what? How does Christianity predict rational agents more than naturalism? If I
Yeah,
could
whenever
grant
you're
you
ready for
that
it,
God
Jay.
had his, hold on, if I grant you that God has a desire to create rational agents, well, that's just a move that I can make as an atheist and say, well, there's a natural disposition for the universe and the laws of physics to generate a rational agent. And so our two hypotheses are equally parsimonious. I'm asking, why does Christianity raise the likelihood of rational agents? You're failing to demonstrate that. You're just saying because God desires this. But I can say nature has a disposition for this too. So I can make the same move as you, and we're going nowhere. It doesn't lead to God.
Yeah, whenever you're ready for me to explain it to me, let me know. Explain it to you, rather, let me know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so far in regards to your diagnosis, you already have about 3 arbitrary answers. And given that you granted premise one, we should favor the hypothesis, in which does not have as many arbitrary answers. I think that I can demonstrate why would be far more sufficient when accommodating us with truth. So in respects to why rational agents would exist, I said earlier that would just be analytically true in virtue of the Christian schema. But if you obviously want the nuance on why that would be the case, it's gonna ultimately just be down in virtue of the essential properties which the Christian God is going to obtain, which would just fall under all loving. And the reason for why he would rationally or sovereignly will rational creatures to exist is just going to be in virtue of him wanting to love a creation or having something to love.
I
So that
know
would
all
be the
this. I
explanation.
know all that already.
Yeah, so,
But
well, you know,
again,
but
you're
in
just saying, look, you're just saying, oh, well, it's more expected in Christianity because God desires rational agents and he loves us. Hold on, let me explain. You're just saying God loves us, God loves it, but I can do the same thing. Every single move you make for that is an extra commitment you're adding to your hypothesis that I can do for naturalism. I can say, oh, there's a disposition for these things, just as you say God has a disposition for these things. And so we're equal, right? Don't you get it? Your hypothesis does no better of a job at explaining or predicting reality. And so that's why this is not a valid argument. It does not
Yeah,
get to God.
you're very confused. So let me just try to give you some more clarity here. Earlier, I said this is going to be analytically true.
Yeah, I can say it's analytically. I can say
Yeah.
it's analytically true for naturalism too.
Well, no, you can't.
Why
Given
not?
that I already asked you to demonstrate that, which led to three
It's
arbitrary
analytically
answers.
true under naturalism that it has a disposition for rational agents.
Okay, what would be the demonstration and why would it be the case?
Yeah, the
Could you
same thing
explain
that you
the
say for
nuance?
God, right? It has like disposition for it, right? Just as you say, well, God loves us. I can say nature has a disposition for this.
When you
right?
say
I'm
disposition,
making
can
the
you
same
clarify
move.
what that means?
What?
When you say disposition, can you clarify what that
It
means
has,
exactly?
yeah, it has like a predetermined or beforehand tendency for this thing to happen.
Oh, wait, so does that not like entail a mind of some sort? How could something be predetermined and not
No.
have any
Wait,
form of
you
conscious?
understand that it tends to rain when it's humid, right? Does that mean that there's a mind behind the rain?
I mean, if we get into the nuance, which is going to account for why the rain is acting the way it is, perhaps, but on face value, obviously not. But
No, you don't need a mind
in
for the
respects to
rain.
your
You don't need a
naturalist
mind
account,
for rain. So no,
yeah,
the universe could have a natural disposition in which the laws of physics were configured the way they were naturally,
yeah,
such that it
but
would give
you
rise to
already,
rational agents. So again, you're
yeah,
not
but you're
showing that
still not
God is more
answering my
likely.
question.
You're not
Yeah,
showing
I mean,
that
I get
God
it,
is
but
more
you're
likely.
just not keeping up. So, like I said, if I could just speak uninterruptedly, in virtue of the Christian schema, he would sovereignly will agents to exist to showcase his love, obviously. So that would be the explanation, in which why would be far more expected under a theistic hypothesis. Now, in respects to the naturalistic critique that you gave, you
You're
said
just
that
saying it's
he would
more
have a
likely because God
disposition.
expresses his love, right? But I can say it's more likely in naturalism because naturalism has a disposition for this, right?
Yeah,
So
but you're not
again, I'm making the
justifying that
same exact move
disposition.
as you.
Well,
I'm making the
no,
same
you
move as
can't,
you.
given that you're not giving any sufficient reasoning for why that would be the case. So, in regards to the naturalism having a disposition, could you please justify that would be the case? Because why could naturalism just not have a disposition?
Well, why couldn't God just not have a desire for rational agents, right? So it's
Yeah,
the
so in
same.
virtue of
It's
his,
the
yeah, and I
same.
can give
Wait,
you
wait,
reasoning for that.
wait, wait,
Well,
wait.
no,
It's the same critique. It's
it
the
wouldn't be
same
the same
exact
thing, given
critique.
that I actually have an explanation for why it's the case under
You
my
don't have an
worldview. So,
explanation. You
yeah,
have an
well,
ad
I mean, I
hoc
could give the explanation
assumption.
now.
You have an ad
No.
hoc assumption.
Yeah, no, it's quite clear. So, in virtue of an essential property, which I take that you know what that is, given how well read you are, it would be a property that's just going to be inseparable from the actual ontological property. So, God has always been all loving. There was never a time and a point in time where God was not all loving. So, something that's going to be all loving is obviously going to do an act to showcase its love, which would be the reason for why He sovereignly willed rational agents such as ourselves to exist. That would be the explanation in respects to why we would exist and why it would be far more expected. But I'm still unsure on how your naturalistic account would be far more
Well,
probable than this.
now you're adding so many problems. When you say God is all loving, right now you're invoking the problem of evil. Wait, why is there so much? Why are there so many irrational agents who suffer? Right?
Yeah, we can
That's not
definitely get
expected.
into that.
That's not expected under theism. So why do we have that if that's not expected? Right?
Oh my God, this is comical. I mean, yeah, just concede your point on the naturalism. We could definitely get into the problem of evil.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you're not showing my Christianity has an innate higher probability in the case of rational agents existing. Naturalism just has equal amount, if not more, I would argue, because natural selection is a far better and known mechanism for that versus God loves us and just somehow did it with magic, right? So this is why
Holy
your
moly.
hypothesis is just garbage.
Yeah, it just seems like you're just philosophically
Yeah, yeah.
illiterate, all due respect. But if
Okay,
you're willing to
go
concede
ahead.
the naturalistic hypothesis, the naturalistic argument, we can definitely get into the problem of evil if you like. Because I already gave the sufficient reason for
I'm
why that
not
was the case.
conceding anything. I'm just asking for reasons why God is real. You're not showing me any
I already
positive
did.
evidence.
No, I gave you an abductive case in which is going to be rational agents are going to be favored in respects to far more expectability and far more explanatory power in virtue of the Christian worldview
Yeah,
in this
but
case.
that
Which
has
I'm
to
still
be
yet.
that has to
I'm
be
still
supported, right?
unsure
You
which one
can't
to
just say
take
it's
is.
more expected. You have to show why it's more expected.
We already gave you the argument for it. You
Yeah, you
didn't
have
give me
to
any
show
critique
me
for
the
the question.
mechanism. What's the mechanism by which it's more expected that God would give us this rational agency?
Yeah, I just told you it's going to be in virtue of its essential property. Did you not hear that?
Yeah, what's the mechanism of that happening?
Well, that just sounds confused. What are you asking me?
Oh, okay. So you're going to say it's an innate property that God has. Well, I can say it's an innate property that nature has that would give rise to rational agents too.
Yeah,
Right?
that just
Make
wouldn't
the
be
same
analogous,
movie.
given that if one is going to be all knowing, that's going to need the precondition of which would only be found within some form of rationality to dispose of the all loving. So, for my knowledge,
Wait, I'm
nature
sorry.
doesn't
What did you
mind.
say? What did you say?
Yeah, so if you're going to assert that nature could also be all loving, that would just be confused,
No,
given that
that's
all
not what
loving
I'm
is going to
asserting.
be
No,
only.
that's not what I'm
What do you
saying. Do you know what it? Yeah, again, it doesn't
It's
have
just
to have a
gibberish.
mind. It doesn't have to have a mind, right? Or be loving, right? Nature just could have a natural disposition for rational agents.
Yeah, but like I said, when we get into why that is the case, you don't give me any sufficient reasoning. You just give me arbitrary, circular answers. So it seems as if my
You're
hypothesis is
giving
going to
your
be far
arbitrary
more
answer, right? You're just
theoretical
saying it's God's
virtues.
property. You're just saying, oh, it's analytical, right? Yeah, I can do the same for nature, right? I can say, oh, well, that's just built into its properties, right? Like I can do the same thing you're doing
Well,
for nature.
unfortunately, you can, and I already accommodated for why
Yeah,
you
what's
can.
the
Now,
contradiction?
like I
What's the
said, if
contradiction
you're
in my view?
willing
Yeah, what's the
to,
contradiction in my view?
well, like I mean, I already highlighted it 10 times, but I mean
Yeah,
to be
we'll give the P and
blunt,
not P in the
if
view.
you're gonna have a something that's gonna be rational or even all loving, it seems as if that would entail a mind, some type of rational
Yeah, give the
cognition.
contradiction in my view now. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not saying it's a
Give the P and
contradiction.
not
I'm
P in
just
my
saying it
view.
doesn't seem very intuitive.
Give the P and not P in my view.
I never said it was a contradiction, so
Oh,
I'm
so
not too sure
so
why
then
I
my
can
view
demonstrate a
is
not
valid.
Well, valid in terms of it feeds onto your delusion, sure, but no, it's not something that corresponds with reality.
Yeah, is my view logically valid?
Logically valid? Well, I'm not too sure what you mean by logically valid here. Could you expound
Are
upon
there
that,
any
please?
contradictions or fallacious reasoning in my view?
I would say fallacious reasonings for sure.
Yeah, what's the flaw in the argument? What's the logical problem?
Yeah, so like I was saying for the 11th time, if you're going to assert that, nature can have the disposition which would account for it being all loving, it doesn't seem intuitive given that an all loving character
No, it
would be
wouldn't be
something
all
that's
loving.
going
No,
to be
something
asserted
like,
with
for
something
example,
that has some
it
form of
doesn't have to
rational
have a
content.
mind to have a disposition, right? Like, for example, if a rock is near a cliff and there's wind, it has a disposition to fall off the cliff. Do you agree?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think rocks have minds?
No.
Great. Yeah. So you don't need a mind to have a
Yeah,
disposition.
I
Okay,
I
great.
don't think you heard
So
what I
nature,
said.
just in the same sense, nature could have a disposition towards rational agents. It's built into its physical structure, right?
Okay, yeah,
We don't
so
need God. We don't need a mind or
I
a
mean,
desire.
sure. Yeah, I don't know how you can be this confused. Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of progression, I'll be willing to grant you that, but it still doesn't get you out
Okay,
of the
cool.
situation, given
Great.
that my view is going to have far more explanatory power in reference to that disposition that naturalism cannot account for and why it's ongoing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so wait, you want me to just give you the motivation for 11th time? Or
I thought
what do you
you.
mean
I
by
thought
go
you said
ahead?
you. I thought you said you granted my argument, right?
Yeah, I granted
want you-
the disposition, but it doesn't accommodate with what I'm trying to articulate here in respects to my hypothesis being far more attributed to sufficient explanatory power and far more expectability. It's quite simple.
Why? How does it more expected? You're not
Yeah,
showing that.
I
You're not
mean,
giving
for
the
the
argument.
for the 13th time, if we go with your hypothesis, there's no reason for us to expect rational agents to exist under
Yes, there
a
is. We would
disposition.
expect
Oh
rational
my
agents
God.
under
No, we
naturalism
wouldn't.
because it has a
Okay,
disposition for rational agents.
no, it doesn't. You're okay. Then
Why
what's the
not?
argument for why that would be the
Why
case?
not? I don't
Okay, then
understand why you
justify
keep
that.
doing this.
Justify that. Justify that.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the argument in favor of
analytically
that?
true. It's analytically true.
Do you even know what analytically true means?
Yeah,
What does it mean?
true by definition.
Yeah, then that criterion wouldn't be accessible to naturalism.
Why
Well,
not?
evolution, because we're
Wait,
actually
wait,
we're
wait.
actually
Why
arguing
couldn't it
for
be?
evolution
Why
and
couldn't
not
it be true by
naturalism.
definition, built into the laws of the universe, right? In principle, that you would get laws that would render rational agents.
Yeah,
Why would
so I
that?
mean,
Why couldn't that be? Why couldn't that be analytically true?
yeah, it's quite simple actually. I mean, given that the universe is contingent, we have like numerous laws and different mechanics in which do not have to exist, and there's no
Oh
logical
no!
contradiction with.
Now
Well,
you're
hold on,
question
you
begging.
did answer you
Now
did
you're
ask me a
question
question. I would love
begging
to answer it.
contingency.
Yeah, I'm question bagging given that I didn't get the full answer out, but I mean, we have a contingent universe in which is going to display numerous laws that do not have to exist, nor is there any logical contradiction with saying that they do not have to exist. And let's just say that one of these laws were to cease to exist, that could definitely take a toll on the disposition that naturalism would entail, which would obviously not be accommodated
Wait,
for
why
or have
couldn't?
the same explanatory power as my hypothesis, which would be
Yeah.
Christian.
So why couldn't the laws of nature be necessary?
Why couldn't the law of natures? By law of natures, what do you mean exactly?
Like the physical laws of nature, why couldn't they be necessary?
In respects to, because when people say laws of nature, it's like vague. Are you in reference to physics and the reference to
Yeah.
the
Why
gravitational
couldn't the physical
pull?
laws of nature be necessary? Why do they have to be contingent?
Yeah. So a quick clarity question: would you say that the law of physics would exist even if the universe did not exist, or would you say that they have to
No, the
exist
laws of physics
simultaneously?
aren't. I'm an anti-realist in that regard. I don't think they're real. I'm just saying, why couldn't the laws of physics, as we describe them, be necessary ontologically?
Okay, I mean, I guess I would take that as yes, that the law of physics would not exist if the universe didn't exist. So, given that they're contingent upon the universe and the evidence that we
No,
currently have in
you're
respects to the
confused.
universe
The
existing,
law, what we describe the laws of physics to be, would still exist, right? The ontology of the universe would still exist. I'm talking about the laws of physics as we describe them are not real, right? They're just descriptions.
I don't know that to
But
be true. What's the argument for that?
the nature of the ontology of the physical world would still exist without
I don't know
human.
that to be true either. But
Well,
in
okay, well
respects
then
to the
that's
law
just
of
not.
natures,
Then you can't advance your argument if you're just going to say, "Oh, well, that I don't think that's true," right? You're not
yeah,
advancing your
so
argument.
in respects to the law of natures, I would say they're going to be contingent. So there's no reason for them to exist,
Yeah,
obviously,
why? Why do
given
they
their
have to be
nature from
contingent?
moment
Why
to
can't they be
moment.
necessary? Go ahead.
Yeah, so by necessary, I assume you're referencing some type of Aristotelian metaphysics type necessary. If we just look at like this accessible criterion, which is established as something that's necessary, we would know that there's no potency, there's no way it could have possibly failed to exist, and it's usually in a fixated state. These things cannot be attributed to such laws, given that, the universe is expanding. Laws could have very much been different given the evidence that we currently have at hand, and the universe being contingent. And also, they have potency as well. They do change. I'm
Nope,
pretty
they
sure there's
don't. I
evidence.
reject
I'm pretty
that.
sure
That's
there's
nonsense.
evidence. I'm pretty sure there's evidence in favor of certain laws changing within our
No,
universe.
that's nonsense. So I reject the whole
There's
potency
nonsense.
Yeah,
There's
potency is gibberish, right? Because under eternalism, you're asserting presentism, which is Aristotelian old metaphysics, which is bunk. Now we know that relativity is a fact, and eternalism is the better model to fit how the universe works. And under eternalism, everything is everything is actual. There's no potency, so there's no
Yeah, so
becoming
this is
from
true.
from two time states. They don't become from one to another. So potency is gibberish in the context of modern physics. Try again.
A quick Google search just shows me that you don't know what you're talking about. In regards to those laws that I said do change, we actually have evidence to showcase that some do change numeric time, which is going to entail potency. And also you saying in
Yeah, what
reference
do
to
you
the
take to be? What do you
Aristotelian
take
just being
potency to be?
gibberish, I'm not too sure
Yeah, what do you take
what
potency
to
to
take from
be?
that, honestly.
What do you take
Yeah,
potency
potency
to
would
be?
just be the ability to change one way or another.
Yeah, I
It's
reject
quite
that
simple.
change is real, right? Under eternalism, change requires time or two time states being different, one becoming the other. That is what I reject. That is what relativity shows is just nonsense. It's gibberish. So
Yeah,
under
I need an
eternalism,
argument in
all
favor of
time
this
states are equally
proposition.
real, right? Under eternalism, there's no becoming from two time states. All time states are equally real. So nothing becomes another time state.
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
for clarity, do you understand how many burdens you have right now? If not, I can just, tell you really quick.
Yeah, you think relativity hasn't been demonstrated?
Yeah, so that was an answer to my question.
Okay, go ahead. I was just
Yeah,
guessing. I didn't
so
know what
I
you were
would like
talking
an
about.
argument in favor of these laws being descriptive. I will need an argument in favor of the last thing you just proposed in respects to Aristotelian being outdated, or I think garbage was the term you
Yeah,
used. I
relativity.
would also need an
Relativity shows
argument.
us that time is relative. Like, for example, the relativity, simultaneity, time dilation. These facts of the universe demonstrate the B theory or demonstrate eternalism to be true.
Yeah, I don't know what
In
you're going
regards
to
to
take
this,
from
the
that.
descriptive, and in regards to logical or law anti-realism, it's a more parsimonious view because, right, when you say that laws are real, you have to add some kind of new ontology or some kind of Platonic realm, which to me is unevidenced. So I would say it's more parsimonious to take my view as a law anti-realist, and relativity is demonstrated by those two methods I just described.
Yeah, that was just a big nothing burger, unfortunately. But
That's
even
not an
if your view
wait.
was far more
You think that's an
parsimonious,
argument? You think
even
that?
if,
Do you think that's an
well, I'm
argument?
going to get into why this doesn't
You
hold.
think
Even
that's
if
an
you just
argument?
hold to that your view is far more parsimonious, that doesn't really motivate anything. It just simply means it has fewer, less technicality, but that doesn't mean it's automatically going to be true.
Well, yeah, but it explains
I think
everything.
I
It
honestly fulfilled my
explains the
burden here,
laws of
actually.
physics without added ontology, right? So it's more parsimonious.
Yeah,
It has more explanatory. It has sufficient explanatory power. I don't see why
yeah,
I have to
definitely.
reject it.
You can definitely think that. But in regards to the argument I proposed when I
Yeah,
first got
you have
here,
to
I
give
think
an
I already
argument. You
fulfilled
have
my
to give an
burden.
argument to show that
So
it is more that yours is
yeah,
more tangible.
definitely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But in regards to the argument I presented here, I think I met my burden here. I demonstrated premise one. Well, premise one you agreed with, premise two you agreed with. I demonstrated premise three, which you did not give a critique to, and the conclusion would be that rational agents are going to be in favor, evidence in favor of the
You're
Christian
just
God existence in
reiterating
this
what you
case.
said in the first place. That's not an argument for what you're saying. Again, I explained to you why your argument is wrong because we don't need a God or a mind for a disposition for the universe to render rational minds. You can have a natural disposition. You can have natural selection be the mechanism for that, and the laws of nature be that existential property that gives rise to rational minds, to rational agents. So we
Yeah,
don't need a God. We don't need the Christian God for sure for any of this. You have not done
yeah.
anything to
You're
substantiate
not
your view.
understanding what my argument is. But I may just grant you some benefit of the doubt here. Could you possibly still man my position?
Your position is that it's more expected under Christianity that we would have rational agents because God has a desire and loves us and imbued us with those things rather than naturalism, which doesn't have this feature. That's your
And
view.
what's the second aspect? You're forgetting the most pivotal part of this as well. There's one part you're
The
missing.
second aspect,
Yeah, what's the second part? Because there's two theoretical virtues here.
um, you said that yours has the explanatory mechanism, mine doesn't, right?
Right. And you're saying in virtue of the natural good job by the way. And you're saying in virtue of the naturalistic hypothesis which you hold to is going to be far more accommodated and far more expected.
Well, at the very least, we can say it's equally expected, right, under these two hypotheses. But yes, I would argue I could make a separate argument for why it'd be more expected under naturalism, because obviously natural selection is evidenced, and God having desire is not evidenced, and so that's why I would say natural selection is a far better explanation.
Yeah, I'm unsure on how you're still saying it's going to be just as expected under naturalism. If you can just keep that
Oh
concise,
yeah,
that'd be
because we
great.
can say that under naturalism there is within the laws of physics there is a disposition for rendering rational minds.
But how does that make it far more probable? You're
I didn't
just
say
saying
far
that's
more.
the
I never
case.
used those words far more probable. I just said
Well,
it's expected
well,
under
if you're saying
naturalism
something's going to be more
because the universe
expected,
has a
it's
natural disposition for rational agents,
okay.
right?
Why does the universe have that disposition?
That's like asking why does God have the disposition for giving rise to rational minds? You're saying
Which
because
I
he
accounted for
loves us.
earlier.
I can say because nature has this embedded within its properties.
Well,
Right.
that's not an answer.
I'm
Well,
making the
unlike,
same move. Wait, I'm making the same move as you, right?
oh
You
my
say it's
God.
analytically the case. I can say it's analytically the case too.
No, you can't, unfortunately, given that my accommodation and restraints to why that would be the case is actually an answer. Yours is just circular. You're just saying that the universe has this. What's the
You're
actual
saying
reason
God
for
has
why?
this. You're just saying God has this.
Yes, he has it, given that it's in virtue of his essential property.
Okay, I can say in virtue of the universe's natural properties, it has this disposition too.
Okay, then if that's the case, can you demonstrate why that would be the case? Why does the
Okay,
universe have this
yeah, once
property?
you demonstrate that God has this desire.
this desire to what towards
see how I
that's
can make the same
analytically.
move? See how I can make the same move as
Yes,
you?
I agree that you're
Okay,
very
great.
confused and
Great,
you can
great,
just
great, great.
repeat what I'm saying. Yes. I mean, I already articulated this, but I can be a bit more blatant in respects. So given why God would be omnibenevolent, we could just take like the fine-tuning argument and we can take an abductive case. Given that these life permitting constants are going to be sustainable day in and day out in respects to humans, it would be far more likely that this would be the case if God was all loving, given that an all loving
Again,
God
yet
would
another,
sustain.
yet
If I can
another,
skip this
yet
last, if I can
another
get this last
assertion
part
that
out, that'd
fine
be
tuning
great.
firstly exists. I
If I
reject
can
that
get
fine
this,
tuning
if
is
I can
real.
get this,
I
please.
reject fine
Yes, I
tuning
know,
exists.
I know. Yeah, I can see that. Like I was saying, abductively, we could expect God to be far more loving, given that He has this substantiating life permitting constants, which are going to act day in, day out, that irrational humans such as ourselves can
You're just
continue
saying
to resist.
God gave us life permitting constants. Okay, I can say nature gave us life permitting constants too.
There's no way you're this
Theism
retarded.
doesn't have any. If we compare bare theism to bare naturalism, there's no, neither one has any
There is no way you're this
advantage
confused.
exponentially speaking. They're both equal, right?
There's no way you're this confused on this. Like I honestly think you're
So
playing dumb.
take bare theism, you take bare or bare design, right? In bare non-design, there's no expectation under bare non-design, bare design for the life permitting constants to be there. God could have dispositions for other constants that are non-life permitting. So and you say,
Yeah,
oh well, under
it seems like I met my
theism,
burden.
God wants it. Okay, well that's an extra commitment
All
you're
right,
adding.
so
I can
it
say
seems like I
that
met
for
my burden.
naturalism and say, well, nature has a disposition for life permitting constants too, right? And the mechanism could be a multiverse, or the mechanism could be some kind of naturalistic phenomenon that gives rise to many universes or our type of universe.
Yeah, so this was a good discussion. I already met my burden. You're just very, very confused. I wish you the best of luck in life.
I will say that was a good attempt, but it just doesn't work very well, All right, let's get the next victim. Guest.
What's going on?
Hey.
What's up? So anyways, you think God is imaginary?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about the contingency argument?
Which one?
The one that's just like the PSR is true. Given the PSR is true, the set of contingent facts needs an explanation. The contingent facts are can't be explained by themselves, etc. Do you want me to like send a formal one or?
I reject. I don't think the PSR is true, so I just reject that. I deny the PSR, and I just say, well, the universe is brute, right? There's like a brute. It's a brute fact.
What's the argument for brute facts existing?
That it's just the argument is that it's like you don't need the PSR to be true for the universe to exist. We don't need an explanation for the universe to
Well,
exist.
nobody said the PSR has to be true for the universe to exist. I'm just saying
Well,
the PSR is
we
more
don't need
likely
the
to be the
PSR
case.
to be true. The point is
And
that
once
we don't
again,
need
you
the
understand how
PSR to
that's
be
not
true.
going to be an argument for brute facts existing? If the PSR is false, that doesn't mean brute facts necessarily exist. It could just
Okay.
mean that they're
No, I don't see anything about the PSR, whether I
So,
reject or accept it. I don't see why that adds any more credence towards God.
because it would explain that contingent facts need some sort of explanation. You would agree with that, right? That would give some sort of like credence to necessary
Well,
being
yeah, but
existing.
again, we can just say there's some kind of natural existence or entity that explains the universe.
There's a natural necessary being.
Sure.
Okay, do you think it's possible for there to be a world in which nature doesn't exist? Logically speaking.
Logically?
Yeah, logically
No,
possible.
under necessitarianism, right? If I take a necessitarian view, no, it wouldn't be logically possible for that to happen because everything would
Well,
be
do
necessary.
you take a
So it would be
necessitarianism
analytically,
view?
it would be analytically the case that the universe is logically necessary.
Do you think that's the case?
Sure, I could take that view. I lean
But
towards
do
that
you
view.
actually believe that necessitarianism is true?
Yes, for the sake of argument, yeah.
Okay, so do you think possible facts exist or are possible?
Again, no, I would just say everything is necessary.
No, so
If it
just to be
exists, it's
clear, do
necessary.
the idea of something being possible just doesn't exist within this universe.
Again, under necessitarianism, I would reject possible universes or possible worlds.
Okay,
I would
so
say
let's just say
everything is necessary.
somebody grapes their dogs. They necessarily have to do that, right? Under this view, it's
Yes,
necessarily
everything
that they
is
grape their
yes,
dogs.
everything is necessary under this view. Yes.
Okay, what's the argument for this?
What's the argument for that? It's just that it's more parsimonious. It's just it doesn't. When you say that there are
Saying
possible
everything is
worlds, you're just
necessary is somehow more simplistic when it's denying modal logic.
yeah.
Not really.
I don't see why your view is any more explanatory.
Yeah, because it actually explains why there's going to be like possible worlds, for example, and
But
like
that just
invoking
question
the
begs there
concept
are
of
possible that
possibility.
you're just question begging the idea that there are possible worlds, right? That's question begging. That's invalid.
Well, yeah, but I'm not even like question begging. I'm just saying that there's going to be more simplistic explanations for certain concepts existing in the first place. That's not question begging. I'm just saying there's
Well,
just going
yeah,
to be
you're
more
saying that it
explanations
explain.
for
Look,
existing.
you're saying that it's PSR. In my view, explains it better because there are possible worlds. Well, that's just a question begging argument because you're assuming that possible worlds are true for them to be true, right? I'm
Nope.
just saying I reject all that and say
What does
no,
it even
everything's
mean for a
necessary
possible world to be true? I didn't make that claim.
or possible worlds to exist.
Well, they just possibly exist. They don't
Yeah,
exist.
yeah. You're just assuming they possibly exist.
Yeah, so under this view, we would be able to accept that, which would give us to more
Yeah, but
conclusions
not
that are
under
going to
my
be more
view, right? Under
simplistic.
my view, it wouldn't accept that.
Well,
So
yeah, but
that's
I'm
why
saying it's going to be
you
more
have to do
parsimonious
the
because if we
extra
accept the
job. You
yeah,
have the
yeah,
explanatory
if we
burden,
accept
right?
the view that possible worlds do exist, we're going to have better explanations for certain actions, especially in like the moral domain. So that's why it's going to be more favorable to like accept a view that accepts like um not all things are going to be necessary. I'm saying that if we do sort of accept my view, that things are going to be more simplistic when it comes to
Wow,
explaining
how's it
different
get more
things.
simplistic?
How is it more simplistic to explain why it's not necessarily the case someone grapes their dog? I don't know, man. I really don't know.
What, you don't know? What are you talking about?
I'm just saying it's a dumb thing because obviously there's going to be motivations as to why we should accept a view where possible worlds do exist because
So your
that'll help us
argument is that
explain
it's a
other
dumb
criteria.
thing. Your argument is that my argument's dumb. Is that your best
No, I'm
argument?
saying that it's going to explain more things. Like, for example, it would be easier to explain that we have some sort of like choice when it comes to our actions than explaining it by saying we necessarily have to do certain things.
Okay, now
Or
you're
like when the
talking
case of
about
time.
now you're talking
In the
about
case of
free
time,
will,
we'd be
right?
able
Now
to.
you're talking about like metaphysics.
Yes, because there's going to be different things. If you accept necessitarianism, there's not going to be free will. There's not going to be like
No, that
time as a
doesn't
concept.
follow.
There's not
That
going to be
doesn't
a
follow.
change. Wait, how is
That
there
doesn't
free
follow.
will
You
under
can
a view
take a
that everything is
compatibilistic view.
necessary?
You can take a compatibilistic view, right, and say that it depends on how you're cashing out free will, right? But yeah, I
Voluntary
mean,
choice to do
I
certain
also
action.
reject free will to be honest. I reject free
Yeah,
will
I know
too.
you do.
So yeah, I mean, I don't see the argument for free will being true.
Well, I'm saying we'd be able to explain choices of actions better under this view.
I don't
Because
know.
obviously, like a
It wouldn't explain
deterministic view,
choices any better. It wouldn't explain
yes,
choices
it
any better.
would.
How? How
Wait,
would
do
it
you think
explain it
it'd be
better?
better to be able to say that somebody is able to choose whether or not they want to grape their dog
But
or not
in
be
what
able to
modality
choose?
would it be better?
What do you mean? What modality would it be better? Obviously, morally,
Oh, okay. Now you're invoking morality. You're talking about
because
morality now.
morality is going to have a
Okay,
better
yeah.
explanation if it's the
So
case.
again, I'm an anti-realist. I don't think that there is an objectively better or worse thing.
Well, yeah,
So
but
again,
just given your own
you're
preferences for
invoking
whatever you're using it to.
so much more commitment to
Like if
your
you're just using
hypothesis.
like relativism or whatever it is, under your own preferences, would it be better to affirm that somebody has the choice to grape their dog or not, morally speaking?
My preferences are irrelevant to the fact of reality.
When we're talking about morality, though, what do you think morality is going to be indexed to?
Preferences.
Great. So under your preference, would you prefer for somebody to be able to grape their dog or not?
I would prefer them not to, but I don't understand how this points to your view being
Great. So
correct.
under this view, it's going to be more likely to be the case that our morals are going to align with some sort of view that possible worlds do exist, right? As in, that it's going to be more favorable for us
What?
under the moral domain.
Wait,
When we're talking about morality,
what
for
do you?
example, we prefer some sort of like view that possible worlds exist. If we want our
I
morals to
don't
be better,
understand what the hell you were talking about. Possible worlds has
yes,
nothing to do with morality, right? You were talking
yes, it
about logic.
does.
You were talking about logical possibilities, not moral possibilities,
Logical
right? So
possibilities
logically
are also
speaking,
moral possibilities.
yeah, we can
Something
say
that's morally
logically speaking,
possible is also
everything.
logically
Wait,
possible.
Yeah, under my view, everything's logically necessary. So I don't understand how this defeats it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's going to be
Okay,
more
great. So
favorable
how is your view more explanatory?
because it's more favorable and has more simplistic explanations for certain things.
How is it
That's what
more
I've been saying the entire
simplistic?
time.
You're not showing me how it's more parsimonious.
I've been doing this the entire time, but you just like, what are we talking about? This has nothing to do with anything. Instead of like actually addressing
No,
the
look,
substance.
we're going in circles. You're just saying, oh, it's more favorable, but
Yeah, let's just go back to
that's
square
irrelevant.
one
What's
because I
more
already knocked you
favorable,
out
right? It's
in
more
this square.
favorable that,
So can you
all
give me
kinds of
the
things are true,
argument
but
for
that doesn't make them true.
necessitarianism being true? Can you do
What?
that for me? What's the argument for necessitarianism being true?
That it's logically consistent and it's more parsimonious relative
How
to
is
the idea that
parsimony a
there
motivator
are other
exactly?
possible worlds out there in some
What's the
world in
argument
some
for
platonic law.
parsimony being more being a motivator? Can you give me the argument for that?
What are you talking about? The argument for parsimony? It's
No, no, no.
theoretically more
Parsimony being a
virtuous.
motivator.
It's more theoretically virtuous to be parsimonious because it explains sufficiently and with less parts. Right? It's like
Okay, so
Occam's razor, right? Occam's razor says, that this is what we have to follow. This is what was more likely to be true.
so what's more likely to be true is what's more simplistic.
More well, not just more simplistic, but more parsimonious as well with other theoretical virtues.
Great. So what's the theory of truth where this is true under?
You can take it doesn't matter. You can take a correspondence. You can take a deflationary. Doesn't matter.
Well, tell me which one.
Okay, I like correspondence.
Okay, so
I don't see
it's
why
the
it's
case
irrelevant.
that things are going to correspond in such a way that parsimony is the motivator. I'm not sure how that's the case.
Things are going to correspond.
Yeah, because
What?
true things are going to have to
Yeah,
correspond to like the theory of parsimony,
yeah.
right?
It corresponds to reality when things are simpler and explain things without extra parts. That's just something we observe.
Great. So the argument for that is just going to be our observations.
Observations as well as like of course you're gonna have a priori or logical evidence for it too.
Great. So anyways, what's like the motivator for this theory of truth?
Oh my god,
I'm
you're going
still not
into
really
like
seeing
such
the
irrelevant
argument.
territory. This is like so irrelevant.
Well, yeah, because you're not giving me an actual argument. You're just saying it's more parsimonious, bro. It's more parsimonious. Demonstrate how it's not. And I've been trying to do that the entire time.
Well, you're not explaining how it is more explanatory. You're not explaining how your view is better in any way.
You're
You're just
not
saying
explaining
mine's
how your
better.
view is more explanatory. Okay, just to be clear, when we're talking about parsimonious, we're talking about simplicity, right?
Yeah, basically.
So if we're
But
talking
can you
about
just give
simplicity,
the argument that your view is that God is more likely?
yeah, I'm trying to, but you're literally denying like the idea that there's going to be possible facts or contingent facts. So I have to establish their
Yeah,
existence first,
so
right? Yeah, I'm
that's a
gonna
block
have to
that's a
establish their
roadblock for you
existence,
that you have
correct?
to overcome. You can't just say, "Oh, but you're
Yes, that's what I'm
denying it."
doing right
You
now.
have
I'm
to show
literally
me
doing
that
that. I'm
yours is
trying to do
better,
that
right?
actively, buddy.
You have to show me that your view is better, right? You're not doing that. You're just saying it's
Yeah, I'm
better.
trying to do that by
I'm asking
establishing that
for how
possible
you
facts
know that
exist.
your view is better.
We're trying to give the idea that possible facts exist so we can get to the argument, right? So hold my hand through this.
Okay, let's say I grant you possible worlds. Now what? How does that lead to God?
Okay,
I
just to
can't
be
believe I have
clear,
to do
there's
this. Now what? Get to God.
Blood's mom walked in on him. So, anyways, when we're talking about like contingent facts, they would need an explanation under the view because you've not yet to give a defeater to the PSR. Your defeater to the PSR was necessitarianism. So now that that's gone, you would need another defeater to the PSR, unless you want to grant that too.
No, my defeater was brute facts, right?
And brute facts motivation is what exactly?
That brute facts are just going to be brute facts. They
And when I asked for the motivator for that, you said it was going to be the case that necessitarianism is true, meaning that possible
Yeah,
facts don't exist,
yeah,
meaning that there's not
yeah,
defeaters. Yeah, so
yeah.
just to
So
be clear, your motivator for brute facts existing is going to be necessitarianism. So if you say that's not true and you're going to grant me possible worlds, you would need another motivator for
okay,
brute
great,
facts.
great. So go ahead. I grant you possible worlds. Now show that God is real. Go ahead.
Great. So do you grant me brute facts are false now? Because you just got rid of your
Sure, for
motivator.
the sake of art, I just want to see where this is going because
Great. So now
I
that
don't
we
know how
need
this is
every single
relevant.
contingent fact to have an explanation, you would agree the set of contingent facts needs an explanation, correct?
Sure, yeah.
So if the set of contingent facts needs an explanation, there must be a necessary being because the set of contingent facts can't contain itself, correct?
Okay, great. So why can't the necessary being be natural?
Because if it's natural, there would be a possible world in which non-natural things don't exist, which is just like not logically
No,
the
by
case.
definition, it's necessary. Again, I
You think
take your
by
own
definition,
view.
naturally
Let's try.
speaking, something has to be a
Let's do this again. Under this view, I'm taking on your view about necessity and possibility, and I'm showing you that by definition, it's analytically going to be necessary. So it couldn't have been another way, right? So again, why can't this entity be natural? That's necessary. Try again.
What do you think natural means?
Non-agential.
Non-agential. That's all natural means. Something that's non-agential.
Non-agential, non-mind, right? Just abides by the physical laws of the universe.
Abides by the physical laws. Do you think physical laws are logically necessary?
Yes, for the sake of argument, we can say the laws of nature are
You
logically
think the
necessary.
laws of physics are logically necessary, just to be clear.
If it's the necessary being, yes.
If the necessary being is physical laws, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, so the universe can be infinite, and therefore the laws could be necessary, right? They couldn't have been another way.
The universe can be infinite, but there can be changes. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, wait, no, there is no change in the universe. I don't take change to be
There's
real.
no change in the universe?
Nope,
Okay,
change
so when I
isn't
fuck
real.
your mom raw, is there like a change that's going on? Like from state to state? Like state A, I'm
So,
fucking her, state B, I'm not fucking her. Like there's not really a change or what?
yeah, so what do you take change to be?
Um, Potentiality to actuality.
Yeah, that's gibberish, right? So relativity shows us that two time states do not become one another, right? So relativity shows us that on a four-dimensional plane, there's just all time existing, all time states existing simultaneously. They're all equally real. And so time states do not become from one to another. All time states exist. And so when you say, oh, well, potential to actual, that's gibberish according to Einstein's relativity, because all things are actual. All states are actual. So when I fuck your
If all
mom
states are
now and I
actual,
fuck your mom in the future, those are both happening.
so they're both happening.
Yes,
So
I
contradictions are
fucked your
happening.
mom twice and three times, and all those states were equally real.
Okay, so there is a state where I'm fucking your dog, for example. That's a
No,
state.
that doesn't follow,
Why doesn't
because
that follow?
not all things are
If the
physically
universe is
possible.
infinite,
Not all
yeah,
things
that's
are
physically
physically
possible. It's physically
possible,
possible
right?
for me
It's
to
not
stick my dick in your
not
dog. That's
all
obviously
things
true.
are possible that are physical.
Okay, so if the universe is infinite, there wouldn't be an infinite set of actions.
It depends on the way the physical laws are configured, right? There's only things
There
that are
wouldn't
physically
be an
possible can
infinite set
occur.
of actions if it was the case the universe was infinite. Are you
It
serious?
has to abide the laws of physics to be possible, sir.
Yeah, obviously me fucking your dog abides by the laws of physics.
Okay, well then, yeah. If the universe is infinite, then there is a time
Oh my
state in
god,
which you are
bro.
fucking a dog.
Your dog in particular. So you think
I don't
I
have
am
a
fucking your
dog.
dog
It
currently?
might be
I
my
am fucking
dad
your
or
dog.
my some
Well, also, it's physically
some
possible for
guy
you
or
to have a
something. I
dog.
don't know, some random guy in the
If there's an
street
infinite
you
set of
thought was a
actions, then
dog.
you have a dog. You have a dog under this
I
infinite
don't
set
have
of
a dog,
actions.
dude.
Well, yeah, but you do have a dog because there's an infinite set of actions, and that's physically possible. There's no physical contradiction if you have a dog.
Well, again, just because the universe is infinite doesn't mean that all things will happen, right? The universe could be infinite and have one set of objects or one set of actions occur, right? Infinitely. So
There's
depends on
an
what you mean by
infinite set of
it
actions,
depends on
bro.
what you mean by infinity,
The
right?
set of actions is
In what
infinite.
way is it infinite? We'd have to parse that out. But again, I don't see how this defeats my view that nature is necessary.
Well, I'm saying that they're going to be committing yourself to like crazy fucking views if you're going to commit yourself to B theory.
What crazy views? Go ahead.
Like me fucking your dog. Like that's happening right
I'm
now
not
under this
committed to
view.
that. How am I
Yes, you are.
committed
You
to
just said
that?
you're committed to that because if it's the case that there's going to be an infinite set of actions, like you said there were, then that would be an action because it's not going to
Wait,
physically contradict it.
you
You just
understand that,
admitted
for
to this, right?
example, an infinite
You
set
just
of
conceded to
actions
this.
could imply that only a limited number of those actions occur, but for an infinite amount of time in a cyclic manner. Do you agree?
Depends on what you mean by that. So you're just
Oh
saying that
my
there's a set of
gosh. Okay.
actions.
I have
Wait, wait,
two
just to be clear, I
actions,
know I'm
A
trying to
and
get
B. I
clarification.
have three actions, A, B, and C, right? A causes B, causes C, and then C can cause A. And that can happen infinitely. So the universe can be infinite, yet not all possible actions happen. Do you agree?
So just to be clear, you're saying that there's going to be one set of actions, and that set of
Well,
actions
there's going
repeats
to
over
be
and
a
over again.
particular set of actions that can happen infinitely. Yes.
Well, I don't see how the last thing in the chain of causes can have causal power over the first cause. I don't see how
What's the
that's the case.
contradiction there? What's the contradiction with the cyclical infinite causal chain?
Because it's like a circular level of causality. Like if A causes
Okay,
B and causes C,
why is that impossible?
it's like me saying I caused myself. Like that's just not
No,
working.
that's not, it's not the same thing. It's disanalogous because you causing yourself would be A causing A. When this is A causing B causing C, C causes A.
Yeah, but what causes C?
B,
And what causes B?
A.
So A indirectly causes C, right?
No, C causes A, and then A, C causes A, and then A
No, no, no.
causes
A
B, then B
indirectly
causes C,
causes
then C
A.
causes A, then A causes B, then B
If it
causes
wasn't
C,
for
then
B's,
C causes
if
A.
it wasn't for A's existence, B wouldn't exist. You agree with
They're
that? So A,
necessary. They're all necessary.
they're all necessary under this view.
Yep,
So why would necessary things cause each other?
because they can. What's the
Necessary
contradiction?
things can
What's the
cause
contradiction?
necessarily things.
Yeah, what's the contradiction there?
I don't think necessary beings have causes, or necessary things have causes,
Yeah, what's the contradiction there?
because a necessary being would not need any prior causes
Why not?
because it's necessary. It's a logic,
That
physically
doesn't
necessary.
follow, right?
So when
So
you're talking about,
things,
is it physically necessary or is it logically necessary?
you can say physically, right? So
If it's
logically
physically
speaking,
necessary, and physically necessary is like equivalent to that of
but
logically necessary in this
remember,
view.
when we say causation in this sense, we're not talking about presentism. We're not talking about that in a presentist sense, right? We're not saying that it's changing. When causes happen in our universe, we're not saying there's a real change, just like the causal loop, right? Where there's A because B because A. We can say that all those states are equally real, right? The same with time in our universe,
Great.
right?
So when it
All
comes to
the
the infinite
states
set of,
can be equally real and be all necessary
great. So
as
when it comes
one
to this,
entity, right? So we can describe we can describe the entire universe as a block, which is singularly necessary.
great. So when we're talking about actions causing each other, that's just like bullshit then.
Mm-mm.
We're not talking about
No,
actual
we're
causes.
talking
We're just
about
talking about,
relationships. We're talking about causal
yeah,
relationships, but we're
relations.
not talking about presentism. We're not talking about changes or potential to act.
So when
See,
we're
that's the
talking about
difference.
A causes B, we're just saying that A is like a relation to B. Like A,
Yes,
like,
exactly. We're talking about
is this
relations.
relation new though? Like, is there
What?
new information gained by the relation? Is there new
Yeah, we're
information
talking
gained by
about
the
a
relation?
relation between two states, right? We're talking about a relation.
Great. So when that relation is gained, wouldn't you say that's some sort of change? Because it's a new relation.
No, all changes, all quotation changes are equally real, right? So all time states are equally real.
Yeah, but when we're seeing like relations happening in real time, for example, like my
Oh,
relation to
that's
your mother.
descriptive, right? Those changes are, those causal links are descriptive.
Yeah, so like if we're just going to use them as some sort of like descriptor, there's not going to be like an equally motivating view for like all infinite actions or like all set of actions being infinite.
There's not going to be a motivating view for what? I'm sorry?
Yeah, just to be clear, that's just going to be like as equally true as like for me example saying that there's a set of actions that's infinite
Yeah.
because we're just using it as a descriptor. And if the set
Yeah,
of actions are infinite,
yeah,
it's
it's a
possible that
descriptor.
I'm
When we
fucking
make
your dog.
when we talk about causal relationships, we're talking about a description about two different time states or two different actions happening. But again, those time states are all equally real in the universe. So I don't see the
So
contradiction
why
there
should I accept your view over mine
because
when it
relativity is a
comes?
fact, and we can demonstrate it, and it
No, no, no,
motivates
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
eternalism.
about the view of like actions, for example. Infinite actions versus like one singular set that repeats. If it's just
Well,
descriptive.
why should? Well, I'm not committed to the universe being infinite. I can say it's finite and necessary, right? The point is that the universe itself could be necessary. How you want to parse
Well,
it
I'm
out,
not
it doesn't
talking about
matter. It's
that.
irrelevant. What?
Under this view that the universe is infinite, I'm not sure if you're actually committed to that or not. You are committed to the view that there's a set of actions that just repeats itself. I'm
No,
saying
I'm
that there's
not
a set of
committed to a
actions
causal.
that's
I'm not
infinite.
committed to a causal loop. No, try again.
Well, you just said that that's going to be like a possible view.
It's
So
possible,
I'm just
yeah, but I'm
wondering,
not
like,
committed to that under naturalism, right? Naturalism
I
does not
never,
entail a causal loop necessarily.
I'm not saying naturalism does, but do you commit yourself to that or not?
No, I think that
So when you're
I don't
talking
have
about
a
like views
stance
of
on this. I
actions,
think
like
that
you don't have a
we
stance on what causes actions or like what actions are.
no, I don't
You
have a
don't have a
stance about
stance.
I don't have a stance about the ontology of nature. I just think that it's necessary, but I don't have a stance on the
I
metaphysics of
didn't ask
nature.
about the ontology of nature.
I meant metaphysics.
I'm not asking about that either. What do you think I
Yeah,
just
you're
asked
asking
you?
about causal realities, right? You're asking about causality. I don't know that I'm agnostic about the metaphysics on that. But
So
again,
you
I'm not
think it
committed
is
to saying
possible
that
for
God
there
must
to be an
exist. I'm not
infinite set of physical actions under this
Yeah,
view
it
of the
doesn't have to be
universe that are
infinite. It can
occurring?
be finite. The universe can be finite.
Okay, if the universe is finite, there would be temporality.
Of course there's time. I don't know when did I ever say there is no time?
Well, that you're saying that there's not going to be any changes because it's all happening at once. If
No,
it all
there is going
happened
to be
at once, there's not
change,
going to be a
right? So
beginning.
under relativity, change is emergent. It's
Yeah, but
not
the change is
fundamental,
going to be
right?
relations. It's not going to be like
Right.
actual.
Changes are going to be so again, if you listened,
If it's just
change is
relations, then
not
when you're
going to
talking
be
about the
real,
beginning of
right?
the
You know what I
universe, it's
mean?
just going to be a relation, right?
Right. It's not going to be real. Like you know what I mean by real, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have an ontological status. So that's what I'm saying, right? I'm saying that causality doesn't have like an ontological status. I'm just saying it's a description of the relationship between two different time states.
So when you
So
say the
yeah,
universe is finite, it's just a new relation. There's just a different kind of relation. It's not actually asserting that there's like a beginning of the universe.
I don't know what you mean that by when you say finite, it has a relation. That doesn't make any sense. The universe
Well, you're
itself
saying it's
doesn't have a
finite, like
cause.
that means it doesn't
The
have a
universe
beginning.
doesn't self. The universe itself wouldn't have a cause, right? It would just be the totality of all things.
Yeah, so the totality of all things has to have some sort of beginning under this view that it's finite.
Well, the beginning would be arbitrary, right? Because under relativity,
Yeah, there's just going to be a relation. So all you're
the
saying is the
boundary
beginning
would
is
be
a
the
relation.
boundary would be arbitrary, right? So beginning doesn't matter where you put it,
Well, that would
it
just
doesn't
entail that
matter.
the universe has always existed still,
Yeah, the
because
universe
it's
could be
just a
eternal.
relation.
The universe can be eternal or have a
Great, so you
beginning.
can't
That
say that
doesn't
the universe is
the,
finite.
the universe can be infinite or
Under
have
this
a
view, you
beginning.
can't
It
say
doesn't
it's
matter.
finite.
My view is not committed to any particular metaphysical view.
Well,
I'm
it's committed.
saying
If this is your view, then you're committed to the fact that it's infinite. I
again,
just demonstrated this.
how am I
Because if you're
committed to
saying it's
infinite?
finite, it's just going to be a relation, and those objects already exist to begin with, because it's
I
eternal.
don't. What are you talking about? It's finite. It has. What do you mean by relate? It has a relation.
The beginning is just a relation. It's just a different relation. Because under your view, there's not going to be like actual temporal events.
No, there is going to be temporal events. They're just not going to be passing through time, right? When I, do you know what presentism is, right? Versus eternalism.
Yeah.
Okay, what's presentism?
Isn't it the view that like all present actions exist at the same time?
No,
What is it?
it's that time passes. It's that there is a present moment and that's all that exists, and we're moving into the future. That's what presentism means. So the difference
So
between
present
presentism and
actions
eternalism
exist
is
at
that
the
under
same time.
eternalism, all states are equally real. You're not passing through time to get to the future. That's gibberish. Relativity shows us this is a fact
Yeah,
that the
I know.
future already exists. So that's what motivates the view of eternalism. That's why you don't need God.
Well, under this view of eternalism, I'm saying that you're committed to the fact that the universe is infinite. Because if the beginning of the universe is just going to be a different relation, the objects within it still exist at the same time. Correct?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What relation? The relation would be descriptive. It
The
would be
relation, yeah,
built
sure, it
into
could
the
be descriptive.
universe.
So when we're talking about the beginning of the universe, you're just describing some sort of description. correct?
Yeah, why can't we do that?
Because that's not going to be an actual beginning. Like when I'm talking about beginning, I'm actually
What?
talking
It's
about
not
like
going
some
to be
sort
an
of like,
actual beginning if we
yeah,
describe
it's
it
not going
as
to
a
be an,
beginning? What are you talking about?
if we describe it as some sort of like different relation or something like that, these objects still always existed. That's the point. Meaning it's infinite.
Yeah, it could be eternal. It could be infinitely existing.
But I'm saying you're committed to the fact that it has to be infinite. It can't be finite.
No, a beginning does not mean that. A beginning just means there's a boundary, right? And so, for example, a square has a boundary. Uh, where does it? Where does a square begin? Well, it's arbitrary where it begins. The point is that it has a boundary, but the square would still exist forever, right? So we treat time like space and relativity, in which it has a boundary. You can say that's the beginning, but again, that block would exist eternally.
So the block constantly exists, correct?
The physical entity would exist forever, or you can say it doesn't exist forever. But the point is, you don't need God.
If the block always exists, then it would be the case that it's infinite, correct?
Sure, you can. Okay, great. So now what?
So if it's not, if it's infinite, that means the universe can't be finite, correct?
Okay, you can say that. Sure. Now what? Now,
You're
how does
necessarily
God
committed to
explain
the, so
reality
just to be clear,
better?
you're necessarily committed
How
to
does
the view that
God get to God now? Explain how God is
I'm
real.
trying to get to the point, but you keep like saying, it could be the case that this is true, but then like after I debunk you, you're just like, okay, great, now get back to God. Yeah, so just to be clear, under this view, the universe is necessarily infinite, correct?
No, but for the sake of argument, yes, we can say it's infinite. Can you please just get on to your point?
Great. So if the universe is infinite, that means there's going to be an infinite set of actions. Correct.
Okay. Now what? How does God
There's
get
an
into
infinite
picture?
set of actions. That means all things that are physically possible are actualized. Correct.
Yeah. Now what?
So there's going to be contradictions that are actualized. Correct.
No, no, that doesn't follow. What are you talking about? All
Well,
possible things are actualized,
it's physically
not
possible.
impossible things.
It's physically possible
Oh
for
my
you
god.
to
Oh my
have five
god.
fingers and have four fingers. Those are both things that
Oh
are
my
physically possible.
gosh.
So that means two things
No,
that are contradictory are
no.
actualized.
Again, not everything that is logically possible is metaphysically possible.
I never said that.
Great. So just because I can
I'm
logically have
talking about
six
physical
fingers doesn't mean
possibility.
it's metaphysically the case.
Well, it's physically possible you have six fingers.
Yeah, it's physically possible, but again, metaphysically, that doesn't mean that it must happen that in this universe.
Well, in this universe, if it's an infinite set of actions, it would. Because you just said it's
No,
an
not
infinite set of actions
necessarily.
that
Not
has.
necessarily.
You just, and I just asked this and you said yes.
Again, just because there's an infinite set of actions doesn't mean there's infinite sets of actions.
Well, you just said that there's going to be a view where the infinite set of actions exists and all physical
There isn't
possibilities are
multiple sets
actualized.
of actions. There's only one
Did
set
you
of
not just agree
actions
to
that is
this? Did you
infinite.
not
So
just agree that
this is where you're confused.
well, you just gave that one earlier, but then you said that there's not going to be like a motivator for that other than it's just descriptive. That's what you said earlier. So if it's
Yeah,
just
there isn't going to
descriptive,
be
I could use the
multiple
same sort of like,
sets of actions. There's just going to be a set of actions that is infinite.
can you give the
Now,
argument for there not being
can you
multiple
go
sets of
back? Can we actually
actions?
get to the actual crux of the issue and show that God is real?
What's the argument that there's not multiple sets of actions?
Oh my! The argument will be that it's not metaphysically possible,
What's the
right?
contradiction?
There's no contradiction logically, but it's metaphysically
Metaphysically,
contradictory. Why?
what's
Because
the metaphysical
the way the
contradiction?
laws of the universe are configured, it doesn't allow for such actions to occur.
It doesn't allow for physically possible actions to occur.
Correct.
So the physical,
It doesn't allow for all sets of physical actions to occur, right?
okay, how
You
does it
can have a
discriminate?
world in which there are physical sets of actions, a physical set of action, but that doesn't mean all physical sets of actions will occur. Do you understand the
Well,
distinction?
how do we know which
Do you
ones occur and
understand the
which ones don't?
distinction?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's the distinction?
The distinction is you're saying that there's going to be like some physical sets of actions that do exist, and there's some that are not going to exist under this view.
Yeah, there are some sets of actions that are physically possible that just won't exist. Correct.
And why do they don't exist?
Because they're not metaphysically possible.
Why are they not metaphysically possible?
Because of the way nature is built and structured.
So nature, something physical, excludes certain physical possibilities from existing.
Yes.
So physically possible things do not exist in
Well,
physical
again, they would be
worlds.
metaphysically impossible in
Well,
that
yeah, but the
particular
metaphysical
in
possibility is
this
just going to be
particular universe.
motivated by physical modality because the nature is going to be physical.
Yeah, they wouldn't be physically possible in that universe, right?
They wouldn't be physically possible in this universe because it's metaphysically contradictory, but metaphysically contradictory refers to physical nature.
Yeah, it would
So
be
that would just
physically
be saying that
impossible.
something is
It would
physically
be
possible
physically
but physically
impossible because
impossible.
the
You're saying
universe
something
would
is
be
physically possible and
constrained by
physically
a set of
impossible. Like, dog,
physical.
what are you talking about?
The universe would be constrained by a set of physical things. It's not going to have every single set, all possible sets of physical things existing. Can we
I'm
just
trying
get
to
to
like get
can
around
we
why
just
it
get to the argument
discriminates.
that gets to God, please?
I'm trying to, but you're being very, very
You're not
difficult,
trying
buddy.
to. I don't it doesn't matter. Look, it doesn't
I'm
matter
down,
how many
G.
sets of things happen in the universe. It doesn't how does that get us to
Well, yeah,
God?
it does. If
Okay,
contradictions
great. I
occur,
grant
that's
you
really,
all.
really
Okay,
does
okay. For
help.
the sake of argument, I grant you all physical sets of things happen. Now, what's the argument that God exists?
Great. So that would just mean there's a contradictions that occur,
What's the
correct, under this view?
contradiction? What's the contradiction?
Well, it's physically possible that you have 6 fingers, and it's also physically possible you have 5 fingers, and both states are actualized at the same time, meaning there's going to be a contradiction.
They're at different time states, you dummy.
Well, there's
You
not
think that's
different
a
time states
contradiction?
if they're both
Wait, you think that's a
actualized.
contradiction?
Yes, because they're both actualized.
At different time states, they're not at the same
No, they're not
point.
at different time states at the same point.
Yes, no. Oh my gosh. Okay. Everything that occurs exists at a different time coordinate in the 4D block, right? So if I were to have 6 fingers, it would be in a different coordinate in the block. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Great. So there's no contradiction.
But when it comes to the coordinates, they're both actualized at the same time, correct?
And just like all the spatial
If they're
coordinates are
both actualized,
actualized.
then they're both going to be like spatially equal, correct?
No, wait a minute. Do you
What do you
agree
think
that
actualization
do you agree
means?
that Earth and Mars exists spatially at the same time?
Sure.
Is there a contradiction in Mars and Earth existing at two different spatial coordinates at the same time?
No, because they're not contradictions. They're not
Ah,
mutually
great. The
exclusive.
same with me having 6 and 5 fingers. These would have existed at two different space-time coordinates.
But yeah, and the problem is they're both being actualized.
They're not being actualized, they just are actualized, just like Earth and Mars are both actualized.
Yeah, but there's not a contradiction from Mars and Earth both existing at the same time.
Neither is a
We're
contradiction
talking
between the
about your
6 fingers and
hand.
5 fingers existing at the same
So the time
in the same
coordinates,
universe.
they're in the same universe and they're at different time coordinates. That's all you're saying.
They're at different space-time coordinates, yes.
Okay, and those time coordinates are going to correspond to the relations theory or whatever. Like when we see different relations, like how we see time
No,
and
they're
stuff.
not necessarily related, right? But we're talking about causality, right? Not all spatial coordinates are going to be related.
Not all spatial coordinates are going to be
Yeah,
related.
10,000 billion light years away from the Earth. I'm not. It's not related to me, right? It's just not. There's no
But
relation.
if it's your hand with 6 fingers, it's
It's
10,000
not my
coordinates
hand.
away.
It's somebody else's hand.
Then we're not talking about the same thing. We're talking about your hand in
Exactly.
particular.
That's what you're not
If we're talking
understanding.
about your
Eternalism
hand,
shows us that I exist in multiple states in the universe at the same time.
yeah, so that's your hand still, correct?
No. See, when I move my hand like
It's
this,
your hand, but it's not your hand.
it's not my no, it's not my hand, right? Think of the universe like a block, and it's sliced into like a billion different slices. Each time is a slice. And so something existing at A, let's say me doing this, and then time state B when I'm doing this, those are different mics. Those are not the same being. These are two different structures in the block.
Great, so you are not yourself under this view.
No, there are multiple states of me in the block.
And you are not all of those states.
I am not all the states. I am just the
So
one
Mike
in the present
Burgundy is not
moment.
Mike Burgundy, correct?
No, I am me in this present moment.
But there is a
It's
Mike
just
Burgundy
that
that
in
isn't
the
Mike
future
Burgundy,
moments, it's
correct?
a different state of me, right? Each moment is a different state of me.
So just to be
Of
clear,
what?
there's a Mike Briganti
When we
that
say
isn't Mike
me, when we
Briganti,
say me, we're
correct?
talking about a descriptive notion of me, right? We're talking about, generally this being who we assume has these
So there is a
properties
Mike
over
Briganti that
time.
isn't Mike Briganti, correct?
There's multiple different Mike Brigandis in the universe at different time states. That's what relativity demonstrates.
So yes, the answer is yes, there is a Mike Briganti that isn't a Mike Briganti.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
Great, so you are the other Mike Briganti, correct?
There are
You
multiple
are the other Mike
me's. There are
Briganti at a different
multiple
time coordinate.
me's. I am not every state. I'm not equal to every single time state. I exist right now in this
But is
current
your
time state.
identity preserved among the other
Identity is a
states?
different metaphysical concern, right? To me, identity is just descriptive. To me, it's just the idea that these states carry on through time. They don't really, right, fundamentally, but we can say that they do for pragmatic reasons.
Great, so you are not Mike Briganti in this case, and there's going to be it's possible for you to have 5 fingers and 6 fingers at the same time.
Nope, not at the same
So,
time. It'd be at different time states. You're
well, they're
confused.
both actualized.
Yeah, at different time states.
If they're both actualized, they're going to be at different time coordinates, correct?
Yeah, they're different. They're at different space-time coordinates.
Great, so they're going to be at the same time, correct?
No, they're at different time states.
If they're at
Different
different time states, that
times.
doesn't mean they're at
Different
different times.
times. What?
If they're at different time states, that doesn't necessarily mean they're at different times. Mars and Earth
Yes,
are at
it
different time
does. Yes, it
coordinates.
does. Different time states
Are
means
Mars and
they're at
Earth at
different
different time
times.
coordinates?
They're at different times.
Are Mars and Earth at different time coordinates?
I'm sorry?
Are Mars and Earth at different time coordinates?
Yes, every single thing in the universe is
Great.
at a
So
different
then
space-time
you're saying that
coordinate.
Mars and Earth
Time
aren't
is
happening at the
relative.
same time? Mars and Earth aren't existing at the same time? Is that what you're committed to?
They exist at very similar times. That's why we're
They
able to
don't
relate
exist at
to
the
it.
same time.
They exist in our block.
What
in
about
our,
me and
in
you?
our
Do we
face of
exist
the
at the same
block.
time?
What?
Do we exist at the same time, buddy?
Again, when you say the same time,
No,
time
we
is
don't.
relative
No,
depending on your.
It's about the coordinates.
Time is relative, right? Time slows down when you move faster through space. Time slows down under more gravity. Time is fuzzy. It's not this sense that
So is your mom's pussy
everybody,
hair.
not everything exists at the same time in the universe. There are things, for example, that let's say action A, event A happens. Two different observers might have two different understandings of when that event happened. So time is relative. You have to be very clear what you mean when you say
Oh
it
my
happening at the
God.
same time.
Yeah, I've already made it pretty clear. And you just committed yourself to some crazy view that it's going to be the case that we don't exist at the same time. You understand
No,
that's
no. What are you talking
you just
about?
said that. We're not going to be at the same time coordinates, therefore we're not existing at the same time. Same in the
It
case of the
depends
5
on
hands and the
which
6 fingers.
what the reference frame is. Depending on the reference frame, yes, two different objects can exist at the same time slice. But again, the time slices are relative. What is considered present is relative. You
Great.
don't.
So
You
time
just don't
slices are
understand
going to
relativity. You
encapsulate
just
bunch.
don't understand relativity.
Well, you've been failing to understand your own position, which is why you keep contradicting yourself over and over again.
There's no contradiction in my view.
Well, you just said 5 minutes ago that it's going to be the case that you having 5 fingers and 6 fingers are not happening at the same time, but you also committed yourself to the view that Mars and Earth are going to be happening at the same time because they're
Yeah,
both under the slice.
having
And
five
you
and
just
six
said
fingers would
earlier
be
that Mars
happening
and
at
Earth
two.
are not going to exist at the same time because they're both going to be at different time coordinates. So you said that they're going to be under the same time slice, meaning that they're going to be at the same time,
Yeah,
correct?
you know what do you think I mean by time slice?
Something that has multiple different time coordinates, I'm assuming.
Through
Through relativity.
space, right?
Yeah, so
it's
just to be clear, you're saying that
be a
Earth
cross
and
section
Mars
of
are at the
space
same
time. It's
time.
going to be a cross section
So
of space
yeah,
time. Okay, great.
you think
So
Mars and Earth exist at the same time, correct?
yes, in the particular reference frame we're in right now.
But you said 5 minutes ago that they didn't exist at the same
It
time,
depends on
correct?
your reference frame. Some observers might see us not existing
But
at the
that's what you
same
said
time.
5 minutes ago.
It depends on the reference frame. From our reference
I'm
frame,
talking about
yes,
us. That was what the
yes,
question was
Mars
indexed
exists
to.
at the same time in our reference frame.
Yeah, well, that was what it was indexed to.
Okay, great. So yeah, we do exist at the same
So
time in a
you
reference frame.
contradicted yourself. You
What's the
said 5 minutes ago
contradiction?
that
What's the
you said
contradiction?
5 minutes ago that they're not existing at the same time because they're at different time coordinates.
I
And then
said
when
it
I
doesn't.
asked
I said it
later on, then you
depends
said
on
yes.
the reference frame. Again, I
That's not what you
clarified it
said
for
5 minutes
you.
ago.
I
You did not
clarified
say
it
that
for
5 minutes
you.
ago. You didn't
Okay,
say
I
that
was
5 minutes ago.
mistaken if I said it doesn't in this reference frame. I
Well,
was
you committed
mistaken.
yourself to
It
this multiple
does
different
in
times.
this
Like when
reference
I
frame.
asked
I'm not.
if
No,
if
stop. You're just being disingenuous. Oh my God, you're trying so hard to pick apart my view, but it's not working because you don't understand science.
you don't
So,
understand science.
Mars and Earth exist at the same reference frame at the same time in our reference frame. Not all reference frames, though.
What did
Okay, next. There's no contradiction in my view. Now go ahead and show that God
Well,
exists.
you contradicted yourself, and there's a contradiction.
No, a contradiction is when I assert two things at the same time. I'm not
And
doing
you
that.
did.
I'm not doing that. I
Yeah, you
clarified
did.
for you what I meant. I clarified. That's
Yeah,
not what
so
I
now
meant.
that it's
That's not
clear,
what I
now that it's
meant.
clarified, so you think a time slice is just going to be like relative to the viewer. Like, for
Yes,
example, what
relative to
I
the
see.
observer. Yes, relative to the observer.
Okay, so if we had a microscope or like a telescope or whatever you call them that zooms in far enough in space-time, and we see an alternate version of you that has 6 fingers. To that observer, would the time slice be like expanded, or would it still be the same thing?
It depends on their motion through space-time.
They're going fast or whatever.
Through time or space?
Space.
Well, it depends mathematically on it depends on their space-time motion, right? It depends
So
on
it's
how fast they move through
possible under
space-time.
their slice of
I don't I
time
wouldn't know.
that you
What
have
why
six
does this
fingers
even
and
why
five
is this
fingers at
even
the same time.
relevant? Why is this relevant though?
I'm getting it there. So just to be clear, under this view, you think it's possible that there's going to be um, a viewer that has the slice time that is going to have you having 6 fingers and 5 fingers, correct?
No, there's no going to be no slice of time in which both events are happening at the same time coordinate. That
Why?
that
What if the
because it doesn't have because it's just not metaphysically possible for two things to
what's the
happen at the same
contradiction?
exact time and space coordinate.
Well, we're not saying they're happening at the same space coordinate or time coordinate. We're just
So
saying that
what are you saying?
there's going to be an observer that observes both happening at the same time.
Yes,
They have the ability
there
to
could be
observe.
an observer that sees me and this other person existing at the same time. What's your point?
Great. So there's a version of you that has 6 fingers and a version of you that has 5 fingers, and to this observer, he sees both
Yeah,
happening at the
just
same
like we
time.
see Mars and Pluto at the same time existing. Yeah. What's your point?
So just to be clear, you think that that is possible.
Yes, it's possible for us to see
It's
two
possible.
different things occur at the same time. Yeah.
They're not two different things. It's you still. It's you.
No, it's not me. We already went over this.
You
No.
don't think Mike
Every
Burgundy is
single time
new?
state of me is different. No. Again, we already went over that. You're just so fucking confused. Every single time state is going to be a different version of me.
Mm-hmm. I understand
Right.
that.
Okay, great. So, yeah, it's not going to be me. You're trying so hard to find a contradiction, but you're just
Well, I found a
failing.
contradiction multiple
You didn't
different
find
times, but you keep
anything.
like adding new
You didn't
criteria.
find anything. You're just being disingenuous. Now, can
Nobody's
we?
being disingenuous. You've been doing this the entire time. Like when I catch you in a contradiction, you just like change the
You
view,
haven't
say,
pointed out
"Okay,
a single
whenever."
contradiction yet. You haven't pointed out a single
Wait, when it
contradiction.
comes to like the infinite set of actions, I pointed out that contradiction. When it comes to the universe being infinite, I pointed out that contradiction. When it comes to group
I
facts, I
clarified
pointed out
all of
that
them for you. You're
contradiction.
just being
You didn't clear. You
disingenuous.
clarified them after the fact you made the contradiction. So if you want
But
to
there
admit
was
that you
never a
did make those
contradiction.
contradictions at the time,
It was your misunderstanding,
no, it wasn't
right?
me
Yeah.
misunderstanding. Like when
Okay.
you answered,
So you were confused
when you
about
said Mars and
sets,
Earth,
a single set and multiple sets happening, right? You were confused. You're so confused about that. Then you were confused about different time states. You thought that it meant I was existing in multiple times at once. There's a contradiction. That's not how this works. You're confused yet again. You don't know what you're talking about. Now let's actually get back to the issue. God. Show that God exists.
great. So under this view that
Great.
has been
So show
unmotivated
that
and
God
has multiple
exists
different
now.
contradictions, I think
There's
that
no
we should deny
contradiction
this.
in my view.
Well,
Now
I've pointed
show
out the
God exists.
contradictions. I pointed out the contradictions, meaning that there's not going to be a block universe
Why not?
because there's contradictions in it. contradictions are possible in the block universe.
There's no contradiction.
Well,
No,
we already went over the
you're
contradiction when it
just
comes to the
saying they're
infinite set of
contradictions. You're being
actions.
a
We already went over
disingenuous
the
prick.
contradiction when it comes to there being a beginning. We already went over the contradiction.
What's the
where there's gonna be a
contradiction?
U with
What's the
5 fingers and
contradiction
6
there?
fingers.
What's the contradiction there?
Yeah, when it comes to the infinite set of actions, there's going to be an infinite set of actions, meaning that there's going to be all physical possibilities actualized at the same time. Correct?
No. You can have an infinite set of actions, or you can have multiple sets of actions, right? So no, it's not. We're not going to be committed that all possible things have to happen at the same time. That never has to happen. That's not a contradiction.
When I'm talking about time, I'm just talking about actualized, right? They're all actualized.
Yeah.
Correct? If they're all
Yeah,
actualized,
at
that means they're
different
happening at the
times.
same time, under my view, under my semantics.
Wait, you think everything's actualized at the same time?
No, I'm just saying under my view, when
Oh,
I'm
okay,
talking about
great.
time,
Neither do
I'm talking
I.
about
So what's your
actualization.
point?
I'm talking about you think that all these things are actualized at the same time.
No,
meaning
I
that
don't. I
contradictions are
never said that. They're at different times.
by different time, I'm talking about like actual causality. I'm not talking about different time coordinates.
You're so confused. Different time means different time coordinates. That's how relativity works.
Yeah, so you think that me and you existing are not happening at the same time given the time coordinates, correct?
We are existing at the same time in our reference frame.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're not existing at the same space-time coordinates, right? You're obviously existing in a different space than me. So you can exist, two things can exist at different spaces at the same time, but nothing's existing at the same space and time at the same time. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
Okay.
I agree. It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, because that's not how it works. You don't understand relativity.
Well, it appears that you don't either,
Why not?
because you keep saying that there's going to be like time slices, which are going to be like the determiner of whether or not they are happening at the same time. But when I asked earlier, you said that it was going to be the case that it's just about the time coordinates. So I don't see why you're committed to one but not
Space
the other.
and time. You're forgetting the 4 dimensions of space and time. Do you understand there's 4 dimensions?
I think there's 5.
Okay, 5. But the point is that there's time and space. It's not just time. So that's why you can have 2 different things occupying 2 different space-time coordinates at the same reference frame.
Which you are saying that the reference frame is going to be relative to the viewer.
Correct. Reference frames are going to be relative to the observer.
And if the observer can observe 2 things happening at once that are mutually exclusive, you would say that that's a contradiction, correct?
No, 2 things wouldn't be happening at the same time at the same space-time coordinates. You can have 2 different things happening at 2 space coordinates but at the same time. You're just confused. You don't know what the science talks about.
I mean, I don't think you do, which is why you keep running
But
around
you
in
keep
circles
saying
and
this, but
contradicting yourself.
when you dig into it, I always show you, no, you're wrong.
Well, you keep conceding, you keep like saying running back stuff, you keep backtracking over and over again. I mean, you've already admitted to like all of these contradictions, and you're just saying,
No,
no, they're
I
not
didn't.
actually
I
a
never admitted
contradiction.
to any contradiction. There is no contradiction in my view. You haven't shown it.
So just to be clear, you
Oh
have
my
5 fingers, correct? And you also have 6 fingers, and they're both actualized, correct?
At different space-time coordinates,
But they're both
possibly.
actualized.
If I grant you that metaphysically.
But metaphysically, it's just going to be referring to physical possibility.
Yeah, not everything physically possible is going to be metaphysically possible.
But metaphysical possibility under this view is just indexed to physical nature.
Yeah, some things may
So
be
you're saying
physically
that
impossible
everything that's
and
physically
metaphysically
possible
impossible.
is
The
just
point
like
is that,
physically
oh my
impossible.
gosh, the point is that some things may be metaphysically possible even though they might be logically possible.
Damn right.
Great. So, just because it's logically possible for me to have 6 fingers doesn't mean it's metaphysically possible. Do you agree?
No,
Oh my gosh.
because metaphysical possibility is going to be indexed in nature, which is physical.
No, something can be logically possible but not metaphysically possible, right? Like for example, me jumping to the moon is logically possible, but not metaphysically possible. I
Yeah,
can't
because that
physically jump to the moon.
violates
That's not
physical
possible.
laws.
What?
It violates physical laws.
Yeah, the same with potentially having 6 fingers.
That doesn't violate physical laws.
Well, there might be some physical phenomenon that disallows that from happening, right? It might not
But there
violate
isn't. We've
physics.
seen this in
It
the
might
real
not
world.
violate physics, but there might be some metaphysical nature or property that disallows that from happening in this universe.
But that metaphysical property is going to be based on physical nature.
No.
So you're saying that the
Metaphysical
metaphysical laws exist independently, correct?
No, the point is that something
If they
may be
don't
logically possible to
independently
have six
exist,
fingers, but
then
perhaps for the way that nature is configured, it may disallow certain physically possible things, right? For example, there might be a
nature's
universe
physical.
that, for example, there might be a universe out there that only has, balloons in it, right? So that universe is only
physically
configured to
possible.
have balloons in it, right? Is it physically possible for that universe to have planes? Sure, but it only has balloons because of some metaphysical disposition. The same with our universe, right? Sure, it might be physically possible within the domain of the natural law to have 6 fingers, but it metaphysically has no disposition to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but when we're talking about
Okay,
physical
great. So there's
possibilities,
no
we're just talking.
contradiction in my view. You just
I'm
conceded.
saying it
Thank you.
makes sense, but I'm saying that it's not going to be true. I don't think what you're saying is true.
Okay, well then you have to give the argument why your view is more likely.
Well, I'm just saying that there's going to be like an internal contradiction by saying that something is metaphysically possible but not physically possible.
How? Again, I showed you an example of a universe in which it's physically
Well,
possible
yeah, I
for
explained that
planes to exist,
I
but
understand what
only
you're saying,
balloons
but I'm saying
exist
that's
in that
false.
world.
That's not physically possible.
Oh my gosh. There
I'm
could be
asking for an
something that doesn't
example of something
defy
that's physically
physics. It doesn't
possible, but
defy physics,
metaphysically
but
impossible.
doesn't occur in that particular universe, right?
Well,
You're
that's
saying,
physically
well,
impossible.
there has to be multiple sets of objects in the universe. Why? There could be just one set of objects, even though the other sets are physically
I never
possible.
said anything about objects. I'm talking about actions.
You're talking about 6 fingers. It's an object.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the action of having 6 fingers, the possession of it.
The action of having, what does that even mean? The action of having 6 fingers.
Like the action of having a bad attitude, like you, for example. It's a physical property that's true of you, but you still have it, you still possess it. There's some sort of like possession property, which is how we distinguish identities.
Okay, what's the relevance to this?
The relevance is that you are committing yourself to the view that there's going to be physically possible things that are metaphysically impossible. I asked for an example, you couldn't give an example, and when he did give an example, I told you that's not going to be possible. And now you're just acting like that never
I
happened.
explained this. Oh my God, we're going in circles. Okay, do you agree that it's
Circular reasoning,
physically
like your circular
possible?
belly.
Okay, sir. There's a universe where only balloons exist in this universe. Do you agree that's
Not physically possible. Not
I'm
physically.
sorry?
Not physically.
It's not physically possible?
Yeah, it's not physically possible for there to be a universe where only balloons exist.
Why not?
Because gravity would also have to exist for balloons to exist.
No. What are you talking about? Gravity doesn't
You
have to
think
exist.
balloons can exist without gravity?
Yeah, they can just exist as balloons.
What does that even mean?
They're just floating
How are they floating?
in space. They're
So
just
space
occupying
exists
spatial
still, right?
coordinates.
If they're occupying spatial coordinates, then we have to have some sort of reason why they're holding together and floating around.
No, gravity.
How are they floating?
Wait, you think gravity is the only force? There's other forces involved
There's other
holding the balloon
forces.
together.
Yeah, those other forces exist, correct?
Yeah, they're going to be the ones holding the balloon together. You don't need
So
gravity
it's
for
more than
balloons.
just balloons existing, correct?
You don't need gravity for balloons.
Well, you just said there's going to be other forces, meaning other forces exist. It's not just balloons.
Oh my
buddy.
God, you're so confused. How is
I'm
it
so
physically
confused when you're saying other
possible?
forces exist.
Okay, so let's try this
Do
again.
other forces exist? Yes or no?
Yeah, let's try this again. Do you
If
think
there's other forces, is balloons the only things that exist in that universe? Yes or no?
Balloons are the only sets of objects that exist
Oh
in
my
that
god.
universe.
Oh, what do you think an object is?
Um,
What the flip? Am I lagging out? Oh crap. Well, what's up, boys? I guess it's my live now. Damn right, it's my live. So today we're going to be talking about theism and why it's true as we take Mike Burgundy's place. So I think Mike.
all right. So, again, do you agree that it's possible that a universe exists in which there are only balloons? Yes or no?
Nope,
Okay, why is it physically impossible?
because there's other forces which exist, like you said.
Okay, besides those forces, could a universe exist where there's only balloons?
Besides those forces, and sure.
Yay! Great! Now, in that universe where there are only balloons and the forces, would it be physically possible for airplanes to exist in that world?
No,
Oh my gosh. Why not? Why is it physically impossible for airplanes to exist?
because that universe only has balloons.
Oh my gosh. There's also these
You're acting
balloons
like
are
this
made
is
of
controversial.
materials. These balloons are made of materials that can build a plane.
Well, then they're not balloons.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you sound so
Oh my
bratty?
gosh. They're balloons made of material that are there's just objects floating in this universe.
Are
They're
you a
made of
bratty
plain
bottom?
stuff. Is it possible for that universe to also have a airplane?
No, these things don't exist.
I just
Those
can't.
aren't balloons that you're
I can't.
describing.
I just can't.
Well, are you
We're
a
not. We're
bratty
not
bottom? Like,
talking about
what's with the
balloons.
bad
Forget the
attitude?
balloons.
Stop
Forget the
tweaking
balloons.
out, buddy.
We have the parts of an airplane
We have the parts of an
floating in
airplane
the
that are going to be the four
universe.
balloons.
Floating in the
Oh, that's
universe.
not going to be
Okay.
just balloons
Is it
existing.
possible for this universe to also contain airplanes?
No, because that's also going to be like having other objects exist. You're having other
No.
objects exist, bro. Like, this isn't making any
Okay,
sense.
we have a universe where there's only objects. There's a lot of objects that can build an airplane, but they're just parts of an airplane floating. Is it possible for that universe to have a airplane?
Yes.
Great. So it's physically possible for an airplane to exist, but it's metaphysically disallowed
Why is it disallowed?
because it only contains parts.
Okay, is it not possible the parts
There
fly
you
together?
go. Thank you for conceding.
Nobody
Next.
conceded.
Next.
Next. You
You
sound like a
said
dork. I shove
okay.
you in my
You
little
said
locker, buddy.
okay. You said okay.
You look so beatable. I'd break your fucking nose, punk.
Oh, he's so angry.
You've
Oh,
been like tweaking out the entire time. I'm pretty
I'm
calm.
chilling, brother. I'm chilling here, brother.
No, you're the one that's like moving your hand like an autistic gay way, like over and over again. It's like
Uh,
you're mad about
let it out.
something.
Let it out, boy. Let the anger out.
I'm not angry.
Who's from
I'm just pointing it out.
Who's from Take a breath in and out. Pray to
I'm not
God.
sure why you're doing this.
God,
I'm not
please
sure why
help me in
you're
this
teaching me
debate.
your breathing exercises.
Dear
I mean, I've already
Jesus.
won. I've already exposed a bunch of different contradictions.
Oh yeah, you really got me, dude. How's Jesus doing? How's he doing from the zombie
I don't
era?
believe in Jesus. I don't
Oh,
know why you're trying to like make fun of a religion to try to attack me.
well, it seems like you believe in some magical being that made the universe. I'm asking for
I believe
evidence
in a
for
God
that.
that
You
created the
failed to provide
universe, and I
evidence for
gave you
that.
the evidence.
Okay, what's
No,
the
you were the one that
evidence?
committed yourself to multiple different contradictions. I'd already
Yeah,
told you the
what's
contingency
the
evidence.
evidence to God?
Yeah, contingent facts exist. The set of contingent facts needs an explanation. And that explanation would be need to be necessary
Yeah, why can't the universe itself be necessary?
because the universe has a beginning.
That's an assumption.
Well, if the universe doesn't have a
you're just
beginning,
you're
if the
just
universe,
failing every way you go. You're just failing every single way you go.
well, under your view, where the universe doesn't have a beginning, we see multiple different contradictions,
You
and
haven't
we've
named one
exposed some
single
throughout the
fucking
debate.
contradiction.
Well, you
You
said
haven't
that there's
named
needed an
one
infinite set of
contradiction.
actions, and you said the infinite set of actions is not going to be possible. Then you like conceded 5 seconds later that it's
I
going to
love
be
how you
possible
keep
and it's going to have a
pivoting. Like, I love
motivation.
how you keep
And
pivoting because you can't demonstrate God
no, I've
exists.
already demonstrated a bunch of different contradictions, and you keep
Yeah,
like
even
saying,
if
"Oh
okay,
my gosh, bro, I don't care.
yeah.
I don't care.
Let's
I
say
don't care that there's a
there.
contradiction."
No, I didn't
Like
say I
that's what
don't
you've been
care.
acting like
There's
the
a
entire time.
contradiction. I said there is no contradiction. There's a
You
big
said there is no
distinction.
contradiction. You said there's no. You don't care. You're just going to grant it
Well,
anyways.
both. I don't care too
You don't care
because there
because
is
there's
no
a
contradiction.
contradiction. Thanks for the concession. Thanks for
You're
the
just raising
concession. You
moot
just said you don't
points.
care about the contradiction. Thank
I
you
don't
for the
care because
concession.
it doesn't exist. Right? There's no
You don't
contradiction.
care that it doesn't exist, but even though I pointed it out, you just said, "I don't care, bro. I don't
Yeah,
care."
give the
And it like
Pianapi.
freaked out like a little baby.
Yeah, give the Pianapi.
Yeah, the P and not P in this case is going to be you have 5 hands at one time that's actualized, and you have 6 hands that are actualized at another time.
Those are two different propositions. That's not
Those
a
aren't two different.
Pianapi.
That is a P and not P because we're talking about the identity of you. If I
Wait,
say you have
try
five,
again.
if
Try
I say you
again.
have
What's the
five
Pianapi?
fingers
What's
at
the
one time
Pianapi?
and you have 6 fingers at another time, and
Those
they're
are
both
two different
actualized,
propositions. Those are not the same proposition.
yeah, but they are going to entail the same proposition because we're talking about the identity of
No, they're
you. You have
not. They're
five
two
fingers and
different
6 fingers. You
things. They're
think that's
two
not a
different
contradiction?
entities. They're two
You
different
think it's
entities.
possible for you to have 5 fingers and two
You're
6 fingers?
grasping for straws. You're like, ugh.
Whoa, you really got me there.
Yeah, you have no fucking argument. You're stuck in a corner. You're stuck in a fucking box. Those are two different things, right? Having 6 and 5.
I
We
don't
already
live
go over
in your
this. You're just not
house. I don't live in a
understanding.
box. I
Those
mean,
are
I
two
guess I'm
different
stuck in your
space-time
mother's
coordinates.
box, but
Two
that's
different
like
space-time
different.
coordinates.
I
So,
guess I
where's
am
the
stuck
evidence
in
for
your
God?
box. Well, I've already told you it's just going to be the contingency argument, but
Yeah, that doesn't get
you
you to
failed
God,
to
right? The
prove this
contingency doesn't get
universe.
you to God. It gets you to a
It
necessary
gets you to a
being,
necessary being.
which could be the universe.
It can't be the universe.
What's the contradiction?
A necessary being contains contingent facts and changes? I don't think so.
Who said anything's contingent? It's one entity. Right? The universe is one singular entity,
Well,
right? It
you
will
think
be
there's
necessary.
physical contingencies, correct? There's
No, the
physically
universe
contingent
doesn't
facts.
have any physical
So
contingencies. It
everything is
just
physically
exists
necessary
necessarily.
and metaphysically necessary, meaning
Yes, you can
every
say
single
the
physical
universe is
possibility is
necessary
going
in
to be
all
necessary.
modalities. It's necessary in all
Great. So
modalities.
every single physical possibility is actualized. Thanks for the
No, that's
concession.
not what follows from that. That's a
Well,
different
everything that's
view.
physically possible is physically
No,
necessary. Is
no.
everything that's physically possible
Again, we
physically
can have a
necessary?
universe which only has plane parts, but no plane.
Uh-oh. I got violated. I got a violation on my account, bro. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Pray about it.
I have. I'm gonna pray to Dr. Mike Briganti.
Good. Because I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy, God. So
No, you're not
bow
my
down to me,
daddy.
boy. Bow down to me, boy.
Nobody's bowing down to your 5'4" head ass looking butt. Nobody doing that.
Dude, just take the L and move on, bro. This is embarrassing.
I think it's pretty embarrassing for you. I don't think it was embarrassing for me. I think I did my job. I proved my point. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
you really demonstrated that God exists for sure. Everybody's
Well, I
convinced.
was. Well, yeah,
Everybody's
I pointed
convinced,
out the
man.
contradictions. Everyone in the chat was just like making fun of you throughout the course of the debate.
Oh yeah, everybody's making fun of me. Yeah, sure. Things that didn't
Yeah, that's
happen.
why
That's
you
not
like
metaphysically
turned off your
possible.
live for a
That wasn't
you like
metaphysically possible.
I want a minute when it came back to like that's what you sound like. You sound like a dork when you say, man, these people.
Well, at least I have a brain.
Your whole page is just you justifying creds. Says Zanuck.
At least my brain is
Wow.
metaphysically possible.
My brain is
Your
physically
brain
possible,
isn't.
which trumps yours.
Your intelligence is not metaphysically possible.
I have 140 IQ. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, we can definitely tell you have 140. Maybe they were talking about
Yeah, everyone was.
Maybe negative 140.
Maybe negative 140. See how like uncreative your insults are, buddy? I'd smack that smirk off your face. And after I'm done smacking the smirk off your face, I'd stuff you in my closet. But you're already in a closet yourself. Actually, no, you might be more forthcoming about that, actually. You might not be in the closet anymore.
Is this the evidence of God?
I mean, it's partially
Is
the
this the
evidence.
evidence of God we're waiting for? I'll
Well,
stuff you in
it's
the
partially
closet,
evidence.
boy. I'll stuff you in the closet.
Damn right. But yeah, that's partially evidence of
Yeah,
God.
that's a really good argument.
I mean, like, under theism, we would expect good arguments for God's existence. And we have me, for example. So I'm kind of proving God.
Oh yeah, we definitely can take that. That's definitely not an assertion.
That's not. Wait, under theism, we wouldn't have good arguments? You don't think that's true? Under theism, we wouldn't expect good arguments?
Under theism, you have no good arguments, correct?
Well, under theism, if theism was true, we would expect good arguments, correct?
No. God could fill our minds with all kinds of deceptions, making us feel as if we have good arguments, but we
God,
don't.
well, yeah, but under theism, we would need good arguments, correct?
No.
Well, we would need good arguments for a proposition to be true, correct?
Sure.
If we
But
need good
we
arguments
wouldn't
for a
have, that doesn't mean
proposition
you
to
would
be
have good
true,
arguments.
well, I'm not saying I am, I'm just saying I'm evidence of it because I
Right,
have good arguments and I've been frying
so
your ass for the last hour or so.
all
So that
right.
would be like evidence of God's existence. I mean, see,
Is
you
that
had
all? Is
trouble
that all you had
you had
today?
trouble
I fried
tracking
your
that.
ass. That's for God. That's your best argument.
No, it wasn't for God, it was for me. Do you think I do this for God?
Apparently, you think he's your
No,
master.
I think he's real. No, I don't think he's my master. I never said anything about that.
Okay,
But
cool, man. Well,
I think that you're kind of confused, and I think you need to pray to somebody like me, or maybe like look at my page, see for more information. Maybe you'll be more insightful. All right. So I encourage you to think hardly about your decisions. Peace out, brother. You can drop me, or I'm gonna drop you, pussy. Why is he just standing there? Bro, I don't know how to leave this thing.
140 IQ doesn't know how to click a button.
Well, no. I'm like not doing that right now. I'm looking through something on my
I thought you
computer.
said 140 IQ.
I thought you
I
said
don't need
140.
this thing. I don't know.
Well, you can kick me, but you're just like,
Oh my god. How embarrassing. Next.
Yo, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm alright. Yeah, so if I take God to be a mind that sustains logic, like what's gonna be the argument against that God?
A mind that sustains logic?
Sure.
Well, this assumes logical realism, right? I don't take logical realism to be true.
Yeah, just give me motivation for
Secondly,
you.
I mean, how does this demonstrate that God is more expected or more likely to be true?
Yeah, that wasn't my claim. You're affirming the proposition that God is imaginary, right? So you're saying God's not real. I gave you my definition of God. You have to demonstrate how it's not real.
Yeah, I mean, the problem of evil, divine hiddenness, the
That
free will
doesn't
omniscience
listen,
paradox.
listen. I said just a mind that sustains logic, right?
Yeah, what's your
You're
evidence
telling me,
for a
and
mind that sustains logic?
no, this is a huge burden shift. You're supposed to give an argument against that. You're trying to run the problem of evil. I never said this God was all good. You're trying
Yeah,
to run the problem of divine hiddenness.
look, the
I never
prompt is
affirmed
just to
this God
get
was
you
all
in
good.
here, right? The prompt is to get you in
So
here.
you
It's
have
not
no
like, this is not a
argument.
formal discussion. This is not a formal
So
debate.
you have no argument. Yeah, well, if that's the God I genuinely hold
I
to,
don't
I
have an
genuinely
argument for every
affirm.
single God. Like, you can think God is a square. Like,
Okay,
I
so
can't debunk that, right? I can't debunk a God that's a square,
well,
but
okay,
I
well, no,
can debunk
obviously
the
you could affirm.
Christian
Wait,
God.
so you affirm this God is real or no? Because you said you deny logical.
Look, you're saying God is a mind. I'm wanting evidence of that. It's that simple. You
But
don't have
why
to do
would I
all this
give
bullshit.
substantiation for the thing that you're affirming? I gave you my definition. You should work with it.
There's no evidence that logic is a real thing.
Oh, there's no evidence. Okay, that's sorry, that's just a positive claim. Is it the case that
Yeah,
you
I
have
would say that
direct
logical
historical evidence?
interrealism is far more parsimonious, it's far more theoretically virtuous than
Wait,
logical
you go to the
realism, because now
theoretical
you have to
virtues, right?
posit some extra entity. You're committed to some extra entity that has
Wait,
ontological status beyond just nature, which we can observe.
yeah, so you're trying to affirm the theoretical virtues and you're saying that it's more parsimonious. However, what if it's the case that my view has more explanatory utility? On top of that, you're saying
How?
that logical
Okay, what if it's not an argument? I'm asking for how. How does it have more explanatory
well, no,
utility?
I'm not affirming that. You're just saying that it's more parsimonious. However, what if it's the case that somebody values explanatory utility?
Yeah,
Explanatory.
my view can explain the universe just fine. It explains logic just fine.
What does your view posit logic as?
Mental states.
Mental states? Wait, so
Yeah.
does your view affirm contradictions?
No.
So is it the case that something can be red and blue at the same time if it's the case that the laws of logic can
No.
logic?
No.
Okay, so then you're saying that logic is just mental states. It's the case that that you don't hold to an infinite mind, right? Sustaining these mental states,
You
unless
don't
you
need
hold
an
that mental.
infinite mind to sustain logic.
Wait, so where are these mental states sustained? Because I thought
In the
humans are
brain. In the
huh?
brain. In the brain?
In the brain. Wait, so do you hold to like some infinite brain or something? Like how are they sustained before
Why do you need an
humans?
infinite? Why do you keep saying we need an infinite brain? I don't know what the fuck you're
Well,
talking
you're
about.
saying that logic is gonna disappear. If you affirm that logic disappears at some point, right? And you're saying it's just mental states in the brain.
Logic
And
is
you'd affirm that.
descriptive in nature, right? It's just descriptive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. What's it describing?
It's describing linguistical models, right?
Okay,
With
so it doesn't
axioms.
exist in actuality. It has no ontology, right?
It does. It meant as mental states. That's its
Right. So no
ontology.
physical ontology. So there's no binding in the universe
No,
that says
it
something
does
cannot.
have a physical ontology. Mental states are physical.
Yeah, but when they cease to exist, they're contingent. Yeah.
When they cease to exist, they're
As in
contingent.
humans.
Not
No, no,
necessarily
no,
contingent.
not that. I'm saying that they are contingent, as in human minds can cease to exist. So there would be
Yeah,
nothing
without
sustaining
human
logic.
minds or rational minds, there wouldn't be logic. Logic
Oh,
is
really?
not real.
Oh, really? So you affirm contradictions without human minds?
No, there wouldn't be logic in the first place without human minds. So there wouldn't be the ability to generate contradictions without human minds. So
Sure, sure. So it's the case that something can be red and blue, external
no,
human
it's
mind.
not the case.
What? Wait, so, but that's what you're affirming.
No, because you're assuming, you're question begging that logic is outside the mind. So you're confusing the map for the territory.
Wait, no,
Right?
you're saying logic
Logic is
doesn't
the
exist. I'm
map.
saying that things can
Logic
still
is the
persist.
map. The universe is the
You hold,
territory.
dude, you hold that state of affairs still exists external to the mind, correct?
State of affairs do. Yeah, the universe's
Okay, and
nature
colors
exists,
still
but
exist
not
external to
logic,
mind.
not the way we
Right,
describe those
right.
states
Okay,
of
that's
affairs.
fine. Yes. So things, do you think color still exists external to mind?
No, of course not.
Color doesn't exist. Wavelengths don't exist.
Oh, those are two different things. Colors are not wavelengths. They're two different things.
Oh, my
Colors
bad.
are
That's what I was taking
experience.
it to be. Yeah. Okay. So you're talking the subjective experience, like entailed by color, right?
Yeah, experience
Okay.
happens in the brain.
Sure. Yeah, we could just talk wavelengths too. Sure. Is it the case that something can have like a wavelength of I don't know the EM spectrum, but let's just say like 1 and 2 at the same time?
No, of course not. But
Okay,
again,
why
that
not?
requires a mind to conceive of. So
Right.
you're
So
asking me again, well, how about in reality if there was a contradiction? But again, logic does not apply to reality. Logic is not prescriptive,
right,
it's
but I'm not
descriptive.
even
So
imposing
logic
logic
wouldn't
there.
exist without
Wait,
minds.
when did I mention logic there when I asked you if wavelengths can exist both
Well, you
if
said
1 and 2 are
contradict.
external
You
to mind?
said, well, would it be a contradiction if one was two?
No, I just said can it exist?
No, it can't exist
Oh, why can't it exist?
because it's a contradiction for two things to be the same.
Wait, but you just affirmed that contradictions don't exist external to mind.
Yes, because
So if
external
you're
to
saying
mind, there is no logic. There's
right,
just
so
the
external to
universe
mind,
is
you
an
said okay.
ontology,
Yeah, I
which is
still meant
unknown.
exactly what you said. You
You're
said
not
logic
listening.
contains
You're
in
not
mind.
listening.
Okay, go
Logic
ahead.
doesn't exist without human minds.
Right.
When we invoke contradictions, we're invoking a linguistic model.
Yeah,
So again, there are no contradictions in the external world.
of course.
Contradictions only exist as statements in our minds, as
Yeah,
models
okay,
in our
yeah, that's
minds.
fine. So we're talking about the state of
Not
affairs.
fine. It's not fine. You can't say, oh, that's fine.
Well, no,
It
I'm
destroys
gonna
the
yeah, you
view.
said that
It answers your question.
huh, well, no, that doesn't answer my question of the wavelength example I just gave you. You didn't answer it. So you're saying that a wavelength or something with a wavelength of 1 and a wavelength at 2 at the same time cannot exist external to mind.
Yeah,
Why not?
because it's a contradiction.
Okay, but you just affirmed that contradictions don't exist external to the mind.
Yeah, logic doesn't exist outside the mind.
But wait, you think contradictions can exist without logic?
Contradictions depend on logic.
Okay,
Right?
but logic
So
doesn't
without
exist external
minds
to
to
the mind.
describe them, there are no contradictions.
Right. So okay, so it's the case that something
You're
can be-
confusing the map for the territory. Do you know what that
No.
means?
Huh? Repeat.
You're confusing the map for the territory. Do you know what that means?
The map for the territory, like the descriptive of it, right? The descriptors, what you're saying. I'm
Yeah,
confusing the
okay, let me
descriptive with the
explain to
actual
you so
thing.
you fucking understand. Logic is the map. It's descriptive
I know
of the
you're affirming
territory.
it's
The
descriptive.
hold on. The territory is the universe. Its ontology is unknown, right? We just say it's nature. Logic doesn't exist in nature in that way, really. It exists in the mind.
Okay.
It's internally existing. So when you say, well, contradiction if one is two without human minds,
No, I didn't even
well, there
talk
wouldn't
about
be a
contradiction.
contradiction to
You-
invoke in the first place
but
if there was
you-
no
okay,
mind.
listen,
So your
listen,
question is
listen.
invalid. Your question's malformed.
Oh, it's malformed. Okay, I'm not
Yes.
saying I didn't even mention any contradiction. Listen, I'm gonna repeat this one last time. If it's the case that on an EM spectrum we just index 1 and 2, two separate different colors or wavelengths, right? Is it the case that something can possess the properties of both wavelength 1 and 2 at the same time, external of mind? It's a yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Because that would be a contradiction.
But listen, you admitted contradictions contend on the mind, and logic does not exist external to the mind. So you're saying there's a
Contradictions
state
don't exist outside the mind because
that means
there
you'd be
is
invoking
no
that-
mind to describe these contradictions.
So it's not contradictory for a thing to have two of the same or two just like 1 and 2.
That
wavelengths.
assumes logic in the first place. Again, you keep
What?
applying
To have
logic.
properties assumes logic?
You keep assuming logic to invoke a contradiction. But again, without human minds, there is no logic. So your statement
Well, I'm not
is
assuming logic. I'm
gibberish.
confused.
The statement,
No, you're
well,
confused.
let me explain. When you ask me, well, what if without human minds would contradictions exist? That statement doesn't even that question doesn't make any
No,
sense.
I didn't even ask
Because
that,
without
dude.
minds, there is no logic to invoke
I didn't even ask that. I didn't even ask that. I never even said the word contradiction. You use that in your explanans, right? So you said as an explanation, no, something cannot possess the properties of the wavelength 1 and wavelength 2 at the same times because it's a contradiction. But then you said contradictions can exist external to the mind. So we're talking about describing the state of affairs external to the mind. You cannot say that is contradictory. So you'd have to say that something can have the wavelengths. Huh?
Why can't I say it's contradictory?
Because you just affirmed that contradictions don't exist external to the mind. We're talking about the state of affairs external to the mind. You know that, right?
Yeah, there are no contradictions external to the mind because in order to have a
Oh.
contradiction, you need a mind to describe
Okay, so
it.
something can possess the wavelength property of 1 and 2 at the same time.
No,
right?
that's a descriptive statement.
No,
that doesn't
external
apply
of
to
mind.
the real
We're talking
universe.
the state of affairs before humans existed, it was the case that they could.
Yeah,
Right?
before humans existed, there are no
Oh.
logic. There is no logic.
Right. Wait, so pause right there.
There's
Keep
no
that same
logic.
energy.
There's just
right.
the
Listen,
universe.
listen. Keep that same energy right there. So something can have the wavelengths 1 and 2, right? Two distinct colors. Pause right there. Is it the case that something can exist and not exist at the same time, external mind?
No, there are no contradictions external to the
God,
mind.
wait, you just
Contradictions only
backtracking
happen
like-
in the mind. Contradictions only
But we're talking
are able to be
external to mind, we're not
described in
tracking
the
at all.
mind.
You're not tracking at all. I'm saying external mind. So before humans existed, is it the case that something could exist and not exist?
No, there's no contradictions outside the mind.
Wait, so is it the case that something can exist and not exist? That's not my question. I'm not even invoking contradiction. I didn't even say the word contradiction until you said it right now. So I'm saying, can something exist and not exist at the same time, external to mind?
No,
Why not?
because it would violate laws of logic.
But logic doesn't exist external to mind, dude. You literally just said that. You literally just said that.
Yeah, logic doesn't exist outside the mind, but when you invoke this statement, can it exist outside the mind? That is the logic that you're invoking.
Wait, you think existence predicates on logic?
Again, when you ask the question, could contradictions exist outside the mind? No, because there are no contradictions in the real world. There's
Right.
only
So it's the
just the
case that something.
universe.
Yes. So it's the
So
case
when
that
you
something can
ask
have.
me, so when you say you're confusing the map for the territory when you invoke that
No,
statement.
I'm not
that question.
confusing anything
It's-
here, dude. I
You're
didn't
not
even say the word
understanding. You're not
contradiction.
understanding. You're not
All right, wait, can you just repeat?
understanding. Please
Yes,
listen.
I'll
This is
listen.
important.
Just repeat what I just said. Repeat what I actually said.
One cannot be two is something that implies a mind is able to conceive of that statement.
Right.
Right. So that's why it's contradictory in all cases, because in all cases when you're talking about it through a mind. But in reality, there is no logic outside the mind externally, right? There's no logic at all. So there's no contradictions because there's no logic
Okay.
there.
Okay. There's no
Okay.
contradiction.
Okay.
Right?
Great.
So then I ask you, right? Since there's no contradictions, hold that, right? Hold that thought. Is it the case? Let's just say something with physical ontology, like just a rock, right? Is it the case that a rock can exist and not exist at the same time?
No.
Wait,
Every
why
time
not?
there are no contradictions. There are
Right.
no
Okay.
violations
So,
of
so
logic
it can.
in the
It can.
outside
It's a
the
yes.
mind.
It's yes. You'd be saying yes. You'd be saying yes.
You're going to tell me what I have to say? No, it's no.
Because
The answer
you're
is
saying
no.
you're saying that laws of logic don't exist external to mind. I'm saying, okay, can a rock exist external, or sorry, can a rock exist and not exist at the same time external to mind?
No, every time you say that, can it exist or not exist? You're invoking
Yeah.
logic.
Wait. What?
Please, you gotta stop your arrogance and listen for a second. You're not educated.
Wait. What?
Please
Semantic?
stop saying wait. Just listen. Every time you invoke, can a rock exist or not exist? That's logic. That is within the domain of logic.
Yeah. What's
Again,
presupposing logic there?
please stop. The very statement you're invoking happens within the logical domain in the mind. So when you say before minds could that exist, there's no such thing. That wouldn't apply to reality because there is no logic for
Right,
that
yeah,
to be conceived of. It only happens in the mind because logic is descriptive
Yeah. Wait.
of
Pause.
the
Are all
universe.
statements, are all semantic usage, every word that comes out of your mouth is going to be logical?
It's going to be something that exists within the logical domain. It's not going to be
Pause.
necessarily valid.
So yeah, okay. So you cannot say with your mouth, that minds never existed, or there was a state of affairs external to the mind. You can't say that
What do you mean I can't say that? Of course you can say
because that would imply, based on what you're saying logic contends on the mind, right? But the question that I'm asking, if a rock can exist and not exist external to mind, presupposes logic. You said that all statements, all words that come out of your mouth are going to be within the logical domain. It's the case that you cannot mention or even talk about the state of affairs external to mind, correct? Without presupposing logic.
that. Correct.
Okay, so you can't talk about how the universe came to be without presupposing logic.
Yeah, I never said we don't presuppose logic. Of course we presuppose
you're
logic. That's what we
presupposing logic
do.
in your framework. Yeah, so what's the
Every
issue with
time
me-
we do logic, we're presupposing logic.
So
What
what's
are
the
you talking
issue
about?
with me asking you if a rock can exist and not exist at the same time external to mind? If you could talk about the
Because
state of affairs of the
external
universe.
to mind, there is no logic for that to happen.
Okay, but
so
I'm
that
asking
doesn't
you
make
a
so your
question.
question doesn't make any sense.
It's simply a yes or no, yeah. Wait, so you can't say that something existed external to
No,
mind?
your question's malformed. That's like saying, is 1 + 1 green? It's not a
What?
yes or
No,
no.
that's not even
It
analogous.
doesn't even make any sense.
That's not even analogous. Okay, so is it the case that you could say the universe existed before humans?
Of course, we can say the universe is before
Okay, so
humans.
can you
Of
say
course
that
we
this
can
rock
say
that
that
had
because
both
that's
the
a descriptive
ontology-
statement.
Right, so it's the case that you can also ask the question, did this rock have ontology and not have ontology external to mind?
Yes, nature had ontology before minds. That's the whole.
No,
that's the whole
that
point.
wasn't even the question at all. That you just blew it out of the water with the way
You're
that
asking
you
again. You're asking the same thing over and over, and I'm answering it over and over. Contradictions don't exist outside the mind. Logic
Right,
does
so-
not exist outside the mind.
Yes, so is it a yes? It's a yes or no.
Contradictions don't exist. So no,
Hey,
it's not
wait-
true that those things would exist outside the mind.
Wait, contradictions don't exist, so it's not true that the rock with ontology and without ontology at the same time would not exist.
It is not true that it would exist.
It is not true that it would exist. And why is that the case?
Yeah, I don't know why you're not grasping.
And why
this.
is that the case?
Because it's analytically false.
And analytics presuppose what?
Logic.
There you go. There you go. Like that. That's all I really needed from you, because you're not even describing the state of affairs.
What? Wait, do you think this has got you?
You can't. Well,
Because
no,
I
because
say
you're
that we
saying logic
presuppose
depends on
logic
the
to do
mind.
logic? Of
This
course
is
we
more than a
presuppose
gotcha,
logic.
bro.
It's
You've embarrassed yourself.
axiomatic.
No, you've embarrassed yourself. That's not even axiomatic. You're trying to say you're trying to like you're almost begging the question with how you're using this, dude. You're like importing the framework of logic when I'm asking you, even though you admit that logic cannot exist without a mind. That's your entire framework.
Yeah, that's why when you invoke, oh, can contradictions exist without humans? It doesn't make any sense to ask that.
No, I asked if a rock could have ontology with or sorry, it can have ontology and not have ontology without humans.
Yeah, that's a contradiction. That's a P and not P.
But
Right?
you're
That doesn't
presupposing
exist
that
outside the
but
mind
minds
because
don't
logic
exist.
doesn't exist outside
Wait,
the mind.
okay, pause.
You're
I
confusing
need
the
you
map
to
for the territory every time you say that.
I need you to answer like just this line of reasoning. Does logic contend on the mind? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does logic exist without the mind?
No.
So can a rock have ontology and not have ontology external to the mind? So without minds.
That's a descriptive statement that only happens in the mind. So,
So?
saying can it happen
Wait, so
without
do
mind
rocks exist
is,
so does
is
identity
you
exist
confusing the
external to
map for
mind?
the territory.
Wait, so you can't even say identity exists external to mind.
Logic doesn't exist outside the mind.
Wait, so
That's the whole
nothing exists
point.
external to the mind, right?
Nature's ontology exists outside the mind.
I'm talking to you. You cannot say that anything exists external to the
Yes,
mind.
I can, because we can say that
So
nature's
I can talk
ontology
about the
exists
rock. So
outside
I
the
can ask you a
mind.
question about the rock if it has ontology and not having ontology at the same time. Is it the case that it can have both?
No. Again,
Why
that
not?
implies logic. And again,
But
logic
there's no
doesn't
mind.
exist outside
But
the
logic
mind. So it's
contends on the
saying,
mind.
could it exist without the mind? Doesn't make
So-
any sense. That
So
question's
logic doesn't
malformed.
exist without the mind.
Logic does not exist without the mind. Correct.
Okay, so it's the case, right, that we're talking about the state of affairs absent a mind, right?
That's just descriptions of state of affairs.
Okay, cool. So we're describing the state of affairs. Is it
Right.
the case? Is it the case that this rock can have ontology and not have ontology at the same time?
That's another description that is false.
Okay, false. But logic contends on the mind, and logic doesn't exist.
Yeah, because that statement you used invoked the mind, invoked logic,
Oh
which
my
comes from the
God.
mind. We used our minds to come to that truth, right?
Dude, I
So,
don't even.
However, when you
like-
say, well, without minds, what would be true? Well, there is no truth without minds.
Yeah, so I mean, sure, you can say that, right? You could say there's gonna be no truth, and I hold to like an infinite mind, right? Cool. But we're talking about the state of affairs absent a mind. You cannot talk about it absent a mind, can you?
Yes, absent of mind, we wouldn't have to be able to make descriptions.
What? Yeah,
If
obviously.
there's no mind, we couldn't make logical descriptions.
Right, so we're talking absent a mind, dude.
Yeah, without minds, there are no logical descriptions you can make. That's why you can't make contradictions without minds.
Right, okay, so yeah, exactly. Logic contends
Exactly.
in your framework. Yeah, sure, we both
Exactly.
agree on that. But I hold that there has to be some necessary mind granting intelligibility to the objects and identity to the
Yeah,
objects.
why? Why should we? Why? What's your motivation for that?
What do you mean? Because you can't even semantically, you can't use words to express how objects have identity external to mind. So it seems that
We
you're
don't need to do that.
It
We don't need
seems
to
like
do
your
that.
framework is failing. It's
We
failing.
don't need. Wait, why do we need to have logic outside the mind?
What? I never posited that.
Oh, so we don't need logic to be outside the mind.
No, I never posited that either.
Okay, great. So then my view is valid, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, so what's the contradiction in my view?
Yeah, it's the case that you affirm that contradictions will exist external to mind, even though logic doesn't exist.
No, I never granted that.
Yes, you
contradictions
did. Okay,
exist
wait, so let's
outside the
run through
mind.
this.
No,
Well, hey, last
contradictions
time,
don't
last
exist
time,
outside
last
the
time,
mind.
so everyone can understand this. Where does logic exist?
The mind.
So can logic exist without a mind?
No.
Okay. So is it the case that a rock can have ontology and not have ontology at the same time, external to mind?
No, because that statement's malformed. Because you're
It's-
assuming logic in the first place, which again,
Wait, no,
in my
I'm
view,
not
comes from
assuming
the mind.
logic. I'm
So
literally
when you
asking
say
you a question.
absent the mind, it's a malformed question.
That's not a malformed question.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense in my view to say outside the mind is illogical because there is no
Wait.
logic outside the mind.
So wait, so is there anything outside of the mind?
Yes, the ontology of nature.
The ontology of nature. Yeah, so describing the ontology of nature, sure, right? If you're talking about the ontology of nature, you still cannot say that this rock can you can't answer the question if this rock exists and doesn't exist at the same time.
We don't need to
External
answer
to
that question because it's a malformed question in the first place. It
that
doesn't.
isn't a malformed question. You should be able
Yes,
to
it
describe the
is.
state of affairs external to the mind.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think God is what grounds logic?
Do I think? I mean, this is just a huge burden shift from your.
No,
like,
it's to further my view. It's to further my point.
Oh, it's
Do
to
you
further
think-
your view. Do I
Do you think God grounds logic?
sustains logic? In what sense?
Oh my God, does God sustain logic?
Yeah, in what sense?
Okay, great. So, with absent of God, is there logic?
Yeah, absent of God, is there logic? No,
Oh, so there's contradictions in your view, absent of God?
no, that's confused. There wouldn't be an absence of God.
Just like there wouldn't be an absence of the universe.
Wait, what? No, you're saying logic contends on minds, so you'd have to say there wouldn't be an absence of minds. But you know, human minds are
Yeah,
contingent,
exactly.
they're finite.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
There
so
wouldn't
you
be
think
an
you think minds are
mind is
infinite?
in the universe. There wouldn't
You
be
think
an
minds are
absence of mind.
Wait, the mind is in the universe.
Yes, there wouldn't be an absence of mind without logic.
Wait, so the universe has an infinite mind. Wait, pause.
Stop. Listen. There wouldn't be an absence of mind for logic to happen within. The same thing when you say absence of God, there's no logic. Yes, that's malformed because without
Oh.
God, there's no logic. The same with the
Yeah.
mind. Without the
No, wait,
mind,
so there
there's
is no
logic.
absence of mind, right? At any time? There's no absence of
No,
mind?
no, of course there is an absence of mind, but the
Okay,
point
so
is,
you
in the
just
domain of,
contradicted
when we're
yourself,
talking
bro.
about logic itself, the
So
ontology
there's
of
no
logic,
absence of mind.
in the absence of a mind, there is no logic.
Okay, so is it the case that a rock can have ontology and not have ontology at the same time, absent of mind?
Yeah, just like just like in the case of absence of God, there is no logic.
No, wait, pause. No, right? Why?
Just like in the case of the absence of a God, there's no logic.
Right, but it would be gibberish to say absence of a god, in my view.
Just like it would be gibberish to say absence of a mind.
Wait, no, it wouldn't, because minds are finite. Unless you hold there's an infinite.
Oh my
mind.
God!
Please grant
what
me
I
infinite
mean to
mind.
say is that it would be gibberish to say logic absent of a mind.
Logic absent of a mind. How would it be? the
Yes,
case?
that's gibberish.
You hold that logic is, dude. That's
I'm a
literally what's
logical
entailed by your view.
anti-realist. I'm a logical anti-realist.
Exactly.
You know what that means?
So you say logic contends on the mind.
All right. Yeah. Let me try again. You agree that without God, there's no logic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when we say, if we were to say there's without God, can contradictions exist without God?
Well, there wouldn't be a state of affairs without God.
No. Without God, logically speaking, first of all, there's no contradiction in that happening.
What?
What's the contradiction in God? What's the without God, can contradictions exist?
There wouldn't be a state of affairs for contradictions to exist.
Without God, could there be contradictions?
Well, that's actually a malformed question. There wouldn't be a state of affairs where contradictions can exist.
Okay. We can say the same thing about minds. Without minds, there wouldn't be any logic.
There wouldn't
That's
be any
gibberish.
logic. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There wouldn't be any logic. So it's the case that a rock
Right,
can have
so our views
Yes,
are
so-
our views are the
right,
same
but there
in
would
that
still be a
regard.
state of affairs, right?
Yeah, there would be state
Yes,
of affairs.
there's a
but
state of
but
affairs,
there wouldn't
so
be
rocks still
contradictions.
exist.
There wouldn't
Wait,
be
so rocks
logic.
still
There wouldn't be
exist?
logic.
Wait, so rock still exists absent of mind, even if there's a state of affairs. So in my view, the difference, there is no state of affairs. So there's no rocks, there's nothing, because God sustains all of that. There is no state of affairs, right? However, in your view, you're holding that there is a state of affairs absent of mind, right?
Yeah, that's called
Okay,
nature.
pause with
You
that.
can say
Pause with
nature.
that. We'll pause with that, right? But you're saying logic doesn't exist.
You're positing a being, a rational mind beyond
God.
the universe, which we have no evidence for. I'm saying all we have is nature. Logic is embedded within nature. It's dependent on the mind.
no,
And
no,
so
no,
when
no,
you
it's not
say, well,
embedded
without
within nature.
minds, would there
can't
be
say it's embedded
logic?
in
No,
nature.
there is no logic without minds. And
You
it's
can't-
gibberish to say otherwise.
yeah, there's no logic without minds. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
when we ask, right, this question isn't even, I'm not even going to say the word logic. I'm not going to say the word contradiction. I'm just going to ask you a question. Can a rock have ontology and not
Oh
have
my God,
ontology?
we already went over this. You're
No,
just
we
not
didn't.
understanding. Without minds, there's no logic. It would be gibberish
But there
to
is a
talk
state
about
of-
logic outside of minds. It's gibberish.
Right, but did
It's
I say the word logic?
gibberish. It's
Did I say the word logic? I didn't say the word logic at all.
Yes, you're invoking a contradiction, which is logic.
I'm invoking a contradiction whenever I say the word not.
Yeah, do you know what a contradiction is?
Yeah, just a P and not P.
Right. So when you say, can rocks have an ontology and not have an
Wait,
ontology?
you
That's a
think not-
contradiction,
you think-
right?
Wait, what semantic usage is invoking the contradiction?
Semantic usage.
Yeah, in my phrase, whenever I ask the question, can a rock have ontology and not have ontology at the same time, and the state of affairs absent of mind?
I don't know what you mean by that.
What do you mean you don't know what I mean? You know what a rock is, yeah?
Yeah, what do you mean by semantic usage?
Semantic, words? You know, semantic just means words, right? So when I'm talking about the words that I'm using in my sentence, when I'm asking you the question of if rocks can both have ontology and not have ontology absent of mind,
Yeah, that's
right? What
logic.
semantic usage is
That
invoking
requires logic.
Wait, so
It's gibberish to ask that question. It's gibberish.
okay, but if I ask you, can the universe exist outside of the mind? Is that invoking logic?
Can the universe exist outside the mind? Yes,
I'm
because
not-
the universe has an
Okay,
ontology.
but is that invoking logic?
doesn't have an ontology outside
Wait,
the
but
mind.
is that question invoking logic?
Yes, every time you ask the
Wait,
question,
but then
can exist outside the mind. That's
if
you're
I'm invoking logic,
logic.
that would be a malformed question to ask if the universe existed absent of mind.
Yes, it's gibberish to ask if logic exists outside the mind. That's
No, I'm asking if the
gibberish. Of course
universe
it
exists
can't.
outside of a mind.
The universe and logic are two different things.
Okay, I'm not confusing them. Like, are you like just not able to track at all, dude?
You're not unironically able to
Yeah,
check
sure.
anything
Just
I'm
repeat
telling
the
you.
question.
You
Repeat
keep
the question I
confusing
asked
the map
you.
for the territory.
Yeah,
This
just
is
repeat
so
the question I asked
frustrating.
you. Repeat the question I asked you. It was a simple one. The last question. I
Oh
just
my
asked.
gosh. You're asking me, can rocks have and not have an ontology without mind?
Nope. I asked you if the universe can exist outside of mind.
Yes.
Okay, but is that invoking logic when I ask you that question?
Yes.
So logic doesn't exist, so that would be a gibberish question?
No, we can still make descriptions
Oh my-
about the absence
Okay,
of
yeah,
a mind.
so
but
apply
again,
that
if
to
there
the
really
rock.
was an absence of a
Apply that
mind,
to
there
the
is
rock.
no logic.
Apply that to the rock analogy.
No,
Like-
it doesn't. It's disanalogous.
How is it disanalogous?
Because when you say, can the rock have an ontology, non-ontology outside of minds, that's a description. But when you say an absence of mind,
Wait, but
if
when we're
there
also
were
asking
to
about the
really be an
universe,
absence of mind, there
but I'm
wouldn't
also
be
talking about
logic
the
to have.
universe.
This
Wait, but
is
is the
important.
well, no, you were comparing the two questions. You said it's this.
Stop. Just
You said it's
listen. Just
disanalogous.
listen. When you invoke the absence of a mind, that is gibberish to conjoin that with logic. It doesn't make any sense to say absent of a mind is there logic, because if there was really an absence of mind, there wouldn't be logic. So that's why it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
However,
right.
the
Okay.
statement itself is happening within a mind.
Right. So you don't hold. So you hold whenever I'm asking
Oh
you that
my
question.
gosh, dude.
I'm making descriptions, right? I'm using descriptors, right?
Yes, descriptions are
Okay,
always going to
relax,
be in the
relax,
mind.
relax.
In the mind.
Look, listen. So then, when I ask you if the universe exists outside of mind, am I invoking descriptions?
Yes.
Okay, stop screaming, dude. You're acting like a child. Oh, so if it's the case that I'm invoking descriptions in both cases, right? That means I'm invoking logic in both cases.
Yes.
Okay, so that means both would be malformed questions, correct?
No.
Okay, what's the distinction?
When you say there
What's
is
the
no
distinction?
mind, when you're trying to imagine a world without a mind and saying there's logic, that's what's gibberish. There can't actually be a world where there's no mind and logic. That's what's gibberish.
I'm not-
It's
I'm
not
not
gibberish
invoking
to
logic.
ask.
I'm not
Are there
invoking logic.
contradictions? What's gibberish is to
I'm
conceive
not
of a world
invoking
where
logic.
there is no mind.
Listen, I'm not
and
even invoking logic.
That
I
is
didn't
what
even
is
say logic.
gibberish.
Wait, can you
So
just
when you
repeat
say
the question I
without
asked you?
minds, can there be a rock and not a rock? That is
Wait,
gibberish.
so there can't be anything
because
external minds.
in principle, that wouldn't be able to happen.
Wait, so things don't exist external minds.
Nature exists, but not
Okay,
logic.
But you can't assign identity to these things.
Yes, we can.
But that invokes logic. And you said logic doesn't exist
You're
external
not
mind. Mike, come-
understanding. You keep confusing the map for the territory. The map is not the territory. Logic is not the universe. It's not prescriptive. It's just a description. So without
Sure,
minds,
sure.
there's
It's
no
description.
description.
It's a descriptor.
Descriptions don't exist without minds.
Okay, listen. When I ask you the question, does the universe exist external mind? I'm invoking a description, right? Like, dude, this is terrible.
Yes.
So and that presupposes logic, right?
Yes.
So that means that would be a gibberish question.
No.
Okay, but then when
The
I talk about the
gibberish
rock
is when you
analogy,
say there is no mind actually and there's logic. That's what's gibberish.
I never said that. Can you just repeat the question?
Great. So
I asked
stop
you?
saying that without minds, could there be a rock and no rock? That
Well,
doesn't
no,
make
I
any
never even
sense.
talked
That
about the
is
rock.
what's
I didn't even ask
gibberish.
about the
That's
rock,
what's,
dude. Are
what's
we serious?
gibberish.
I never even asked about the rock. I literally just talked about the universe. I was asking, does the universe exist external mind? I'm not even talking about the rock analogy anymore. Hello?
Yeah, we can describe the universe with through logic. Yeah.
Right. So you could say that the logic, yeah, exactly. So you're going to use a descriptor to say that, right?
Yeah. What's your point?
Okay. Now, if I do the same thing with the rock analogy, right? And I ask if a rock can exist and not exist at the same time, external mind.
The description
distinction?
exists.
Both
The description
questions-
exists, but
listen,
in actuality,
listen,
it doesn't exist.
listen,
The
both
description
questions-
does.
Both
Okay,
questions.
let me explain it to you again.
No, you don't
When
need
you
to
ask,
explain it to me.
okay, stop. You gotta stop talking and come up when you're ready to listen. Oh my fucking God. When there is a description about the universe, that invokes logic. However, when you say, can a rock not exist and exist at the same time without minds? That can't happen in principle, because you can't talk about logic without minds in principle, because minds are the only things that can give rise to logical descriptions. So when you ask me, can a rock exist and not exist without minds? That can't happen. That's what's gibberish. It doesn't make any sense to say that. This is like basic stuff, right? And every time you ask, well, can I exist without minds? That's just confusing the map of the territory. You're confusing the description for the nature, the universe's ontology. They're two distinct things. One's descriptive, one is real. It's like really hilarious how people don't grasp this.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Hey, so I just had a question about, your. I just came in and I heard your last discussion. Are you suggesting that logic is a derivative of mind? So before, let's say before the first human, there was no logic? Logic didn't exist?
logic isn't real. Logic is descriptive in the brain, in the mind. Just like mathematics, morality, it's not real. Just in the brain.
Oh, that's an interesting take. That doesn't seem
Not really.
rational.
It's actually the consensus amongst philosophers. Like most of them are more like logical, not anti-realist. Like there's
That's
no
just not true.
need for. Okay, so why is my view wrong? Go ahead.
Because it suggests that before humans existed, animals aren't rational in the way humans are. So before humans existed, logic didn't exist, mathematics didn't exist.
Yeah,
yet
why is that wrong?
mathematics
Yeah,
describes-
why is that wrong?
Because we discover mathematics in the universe.
Wait, that's an assumption. Wait, that's your assumption.
No. The universe. No. It's not an assumption. Any scientist will tell you that we
Again,
discover
you're just
the laws
question begging a particular mathematical realist
No,
position.
no, I'm not. I'm making an observation.
So what's your argument for
What I'm doing.
mathematical realism?
The fact that it's in nature, we discover it.
What's your argument
We
for
don't-
that? What's the evidence of that?
Wow. Okay. I was just wanted to get your take on it, but I mean, this is bizarre to me. You don't see.
Yeah,
that
I'm asking you
mathematics
the
is
argument.
in
You're not
nature.
able to provide the argument for mathematical realism, right?
I'm saying the observable universe is the argument. The observable universe. Just look around. Mathematics is
Yeah,
everywhere.
look around is
We
not an
don't- we don't
argument.
put-
I look
hold on,
around,
hold on.
everything's real. Math is real. That's not an argument, right?
Mm,
We're looking
no,
for
no,
actual
no. So
reasons.
you're right. I mean, it's not well stated. However, observation is absolutely evidence for something.
Yeah, which
That's how the
observations?
scientific method. That's how the scientific method works. You observe something. You create a hypothesis.
Yeah, we're
you
talking
test
about
it. We're
talking about
observe the
metaphysics
universe,
and
the
philosophy. We're not
universe-
talking about science. So can you go ahead and, show me what
Oh.
observations demonstrate mathematical realism?
the laws of the universe. Like everything. This is what's so bizarre to me is I can't. Are you denying that mathematics isn't the language of the universe? Like the universe is
Look,
described
See,
by
yes,
mathematics.
it's described, right? Keyword,
So how is
described.
it not-
Mathematics is the way we describe the universe. It's not prescribing how the universe works. It's describing it.
But it is that way, right? It is describable by mathematics.
Yeah, and I'm saying that
Okay, then it
mathematics isn't
exists,
real.
right?
It just exists in the brain, in
No,
our
no,
minds.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Now you just made a contradiction. You said it does exist in the universe. It's described by mathematics, and then you said, but it's not real. So is it real or is it not? Because does it describe the universe?
Yeah, do you
or
know
doesn't it?
do you know what I mean by real in this context?
No, I don't.
I mean it has a positive ontological status, right? That's what I'm rejecting. I think it exists in a descriptive sense it exists, right? It has an ontology in the mind, but it doesn't have a positive ontology in the external world. That's what I'm rejecting.
I guess maybe I can see what you're saying now, but are you saying then mathematics didn't describe the universe before humans existed because they're the minds that are observing it? So
Yes,
the universe
mathematics did not exist
wasn't
before the
mathematic-
mind. Mathematics did not exist before the mind, just like English didn't exist before the mind. They're both languages.
Well, okay, and how do you come to that conclusion? Because
I mean, there's brain studies there are brain studies. We know how the brain functions, and we know that the prefrontal cortex in particular is responsible for language. Mathematics,
That's a fallacy
spatial,
to say-
physical, temporal dimensions, they exist in the brain. They're
they're
constructs in the brain. Sir, you're just yapping
It's
over
just
me.
a fallacy.
You're yapping over me. Now he's
Well, I mean,
quiet.
acknowledge,
Oh my God.
it's a fallacy, right? I mean,
What
I'm waiting
fallacy?
for you.
What fallacy?
That correlation is causation.
I never said that. What the fuck are you talking about?
You just said you cannot have an experience without the mind or without the brain. So therefore, these electrical signals in the brain equal the mind. And
Yeah, that's not
causation.
correlation. That's not
fallacy.
correlation equals causation. What we're saying
So
is,
then you're not saying the brain.
oh
causes
my
the
God,
mind.
can I just please explain?
My apologies.
Okay. We know, we have prior knowledge that the way the brain is structured gives rise to your function, right? We have it's not just a mere correlation. We have like tons of data, like tons of predictable, reliable, and repeatable data showing that the way the brain is structured, it gives rise to the way it functions. We know that when people's prefrontal cortexes are damaged, their ability for language is damaged. That's striking correlation. And it is so vast and so extensive that it can lead to a causal mechanism. We're not saying it is a causal mechanism. We're saying it can lead to one. It's evidence for one. So that's the point. We know language comes from the brain. That's why we can say math is also a language.
Well, I'd agree with you. There's a lot of evidence that these two things are inextricably linked. However, that doesn't mean that the brain gives rise to it. Because it's kind of a paradox there. Like you cannot have an experience without consciousness, and yet, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I definitely need to think more about because it's.
Yeah, you should be thinking. Yeah, think about that more.
However, it's it's still bizarre to me that
Okay, it's bizarre to you, but fine to me. Next.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
That was an interesting topic. I mean, I wanted to piggyback off of that, which is so from your perspective, right? Let's say you have a dog catching a frisbee. How does the dog's brain actually do the physics of that from an evolutionary perspective?
How does a dog's brain do physics?
Yeah, because you
So
said that
we
you
know
said
that
the
there are
physics
parts
that
of
we
the,
do.
okay, let me explain the neuroscience too. So there are parts of the brain that give rise to spatial coordination, right? Like where you are within space versus other objects. And so dogs have this innately, so do humans, so do all other animals. Our brains construct spatial dimensions, and that's why it's so intuitive that space is something that we can construct as
But,
different
but
distances and things like that.
you think it's all
Dogs do this
imaginary, right?
innately.
It's not real.
It's not real in the sense that it has a positive ontology outside of the mind, but it's real in the sense that it has ontology in the brain.
Okay. And so, whatever, the topic is God is imaginary. I mean, I don't want to talk about math this whole time. So, for you, right, when you say that God is imaginary, you're saying that it was constructed by the mind, right? Very similar to math, right?
God is in the mind?
No, I'm saying this statement that you wrote here, God is imaginary. It's an imaginary thing that we've constructed, right? It's not,
It's not
right.
real.
Okay. So, my question is, are you saying that God is absolutely imaginary?
I don't know what you mean by absolutely imaginary versus just ordinarily imaginary. I don't know. What's the distinction?
Because, well, like, do you know what the term absolutely means?
In all cases?
Right, in every possible sense that you can imagine, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that word is
That
doing
means that
there.
if you're saying that God is absolutely imaginary, that means it's impossible for God to not be imaginary.
No, I wouldn't say it's impossible for God to be imaginary. I would just say it's highly unlikely for it to be real. It's highly likely to be imaginary.
Good. So then you
Can
should
you just
change your
can you just
topic.
get onto your point? Just get onto your
Change your
evidence of
topic.
God.
Don't say God is imaginary. Say God is
Oh
most
my
likely
God!
imaginary.
This is just semantic. This is just semantical nonsense. Who cares? I'm sorry. I should have said God is most likely to be imaginary. You said
Yes.
God is imaginary. Come on. Who cares?
So let me ask you a question. You think that outside of the mind, like you said, the ontology of space, there is no such thing as space, right? Outside of the mind.
No, no. Nature has an ontology, whether it's space-time as being fundamental or some kind of quantum mechanical nature. That's real. Obviously, I think the external world is real outside the mind, obviously, but the way we describe it is in the mind, through logic and math and physics.
But how is it that we're able to represent the world with symbols?
Just the same way we represent words with symbols, right?
No, it's not.
We construct symbols in the mind
you
all the
studied
time.
math?
What are you
Have
talking
you
about? That's
studied
how we
math
make
or not?
sense of things. We symbolize things.
Have you ever studied math or not?
Yeah.
Like beyond high school, let's say.
Yeah, a little bit in college. What's your point?
Okay. Because, when you talk about, I hear many people try to create this argument that in the same way that language is symbolic, so is mathematics. And that is just fundamentally false.
Okay, what's the reason for that?
Because you're able to do things with math that you cannot do with language.
Like what?
A bunch of different operations.
Like what?
You cannot represent a mathematical operation using the English language.
I know it's not English. I know mathematics isn't English. I'm just saying it's a type of language.
No, it's
It's the
not.
type
That's
of way we
ridiculous.
symbolize things.
It's not a language.
Plus sign, minus sign, division. Those are just symbols for operations.
There's no way that math is a language.
Okay, why not?
Because even though it looks like symbols on paper, like plus and minus and all that stuff, the way the mathematics functions fundamentally is not arbitrary, right?
Well, yeah, it's not arbitrary because it's indexical to the axioms we're already setting for ourselves, but it's arbitrary in the sense that contextually it is arbitrary.
So in mathematics, you cannot construct a lie as you can in the English language, for example.
A lie?
Yes, like like for example, you can't say the car woke up and went to work. So I can say that in English, right? I can say the car woke up and
Yeah,
went to work.
I know that
In mathematics, you
I
can't
know
do that.
that English is a different language that has different utility, right? Mathematics has a particular utility, right? We're talking about the way the universe operates. That requires symbols that are, exclusive to mathematics. We're talking about abstract objects like squares and triangles, right? Geometry, space, time. These are mathematical constructs. But yeah, they're not English constructs.
And also,
Sir,
In-
please digest your food before you speak.
sorry.
I don't want you to choke. Because
So-
God designed us with only one hole to eat and breathe from. Remember, God didn't design us with two. So just don't choke, okay?
So like, for me, right, the reason why math is not a language, and I do think mathematics is a little bit strange because it can be both extremely theoretical, but it can also reference the world in a very interesting way. Like, for example, 2 + 2 is 4 is an absolute non-negotiable.
Okay, it's absolute, but why? Because it's analytically factual, because it's the way we define those symbols to be in the first place. It's true by definition. And who sets those definitions? We do. So of course there are absolutes and proofs in math because we set the definitions for what the symbols mean.
Yeah, but you understand that mathematics in and of itself constrains itself?
Are you talking about the theorem that mathematics is incomplete in the incompleteness theorem?
No. I never got that deep, actually.
Okay.
I'm just talking about my
What
own
is your
experience.
point? How does this show
of
that
doing
math is real? Can you just get to the point?
I think that math is real in the sense that it actually is an emergent property of the universe. In the same way
Okay,
that
what's your evidence of this?
my evidence is that we, like, the concept of a model, right, which is what mathematics fundamentally is, it's a representation of the world, right? It's a model. And a model requires, I don't want to use the word intelligence like in a religious way, I mean intelligence as a way to model the world, right? So our brains, like a dog's brain, can unconsciously model the world and, jump and catch a frisbee, right? And so this is something that emerges where physics itself, the laws of physics, can create a system that models the world. That's what makes math real.
What?
It's fundamental to the world.
What? No. The laws of physics don't have any causal abilities. They don't cause anything, right? They're just physical laws, right? They don't cause anything to happen.
But they're real.
I disagree. I don't think the laws of physics are real. Just like they're descriptive of the world, just like math and logic are, right? Physics is also a type of language.
So do you think that the sun is yellow?
It's white, but yeah.
Whatever.
Is
the White
What's your
House
point?
white?
What's your point?
Is the White House white?
Yeah,
Why?
because we observe it to be white through our eyes and brains.
Okay. Is there any other way to prove it?
No, because color is an experience that only happens in minds.
Wow. But there's a physics to whiteness.
Yeah, there's a physics to whiteness in terms of the wavelength of frequencies of light. Sure, that is physically obtainable. But if you're talking about color, that experience only happens in the mind.
So the fact of the matter is that before there was something, whether it's an unconscious animal, an unconscious organism that could observe and map out the world, there was just inanimate particles, right? But the fact of the matter is that physics contains, and we don't know how this happens, but physics contains a property where it's able to organize and compute and represent the world. And the only way to do this, if there is a fundamental architecture to compute. If not, you wouldn't be able to compute. There would be no constraints that would make your mathematical theories work.
Yeah, you're speaking to the nature of reality, and I agree. Nature obviously has a way of operating, but again, that doesn't imply that doesn't follow that math therefore is real, because what you just said is compatible with mathematical anti-realism in the sense that we're just describing the order of the universe.
No, I disagree with that.
Okay,
Because
why? Just make it
a
quick.
physical theory is not a tautology. You know that, right?
What do you mean by that?
A physical theory is not a tautology. It's not. It's you can, from the basic laws of physics, right? You can prove more.
Okay, why does this make mathematical realism true?
Fuck, I don't know. I'll come back later. I'll think about this more. Bye.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand. I'm happy you're thinking that. I'm happy you're doing more, learning, but please come up with a more coherent, quick argument.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 16.
You can't be up here.
Why, bro?
All right.
It's because after one of y'all got another one of y'all came, nigga, like every time. I was trying to go fight green team. Your team back. I was trying to go the green team. Yeah, you guys leave. Wait, get the 10 o'clock.
Reminds me of when I was a kid playing games. Hey,
Hey, what's up? I'm a vegan, but I have here someone who I don't know. Is that okay to talk about?
well, we're not. Well, we're talking about God, but
Got you. I'm sorry if it's not the opportune moment. I can come back some other time.
okay.
Thank you. Bye.
We've had some very interesting guests today. Very interesting guests today. They're a bit more sophisticated than the typical, oh, God is just look at the trees, man. A bit more sophisticated today, which is good, but arrogant. Yeah, a lot of that comes with arrogance, When you're smarter, you get more arrogant. You gotta be careful. I think I'm done. Why don't you do formal debates? I'm up to it. Yeah, I'm up to it. I'm not gonna stop doing formal debates, but nobody wants to debate me, I guess. Debate Q-tip. Can't Can I debate you on my point of view on immigrants? You spelt it wrong, dude. Rest your mind, they're stressful. No, I'm alright. I just want some time to relax and go to sleep. Why don't I debate abortion? Because it's boring and it doesn't. I think it's like it's all Phil bros that come up. It's all Phil bros. We talk about nonsense. I'm not up for that shit. Plus, these, God, veganism, and the trans debate are far more, I think, like powerful, right? These are like more the fundamental ideas that can inadvertently change your view on abortion. When does life begin? It doesn't matter when life begins, but if logic exists outside the mind, couldn't that prove God? Not necessarily, because there are Platonists who would say that there are like these abstract objects that exist, beyond the mind. That's where it comes from. But yeah, I mean, it would definitely be interesting if it was true, but I don't think it's true at all. Got a question. Why the moon doesn't collide with Earth? Because it's sufficiently far away from us in a particular orbit that is tightly locked, right? So the moon's rotation rate is the same as the revolution. So in other words, Earth and moon have a very particular dynamic gravitationally that keeps it fairly stable. However, in fact, the moon is actually getting a bit further away from us every year, about a couple inches, but over time it actually will slowly go away from us. How would you refute Aquinas' 5 ways? So I actually made a video about that on my main channel. I just made a video a week ago talking about the 5 ways. First, the first way gets temporal relations all wrong. It talks about actuality and potentiality. That's just gibberish. Nothing becomes something else. Like, that doesn't have to be the case. The moon can't drift away completely, right? The universe will be destroyed by the sun. No, there will be a time where the moon is too far away. It'll no longer be in our orbit. There will be a point where the moon eventually Earth moon destabilizes and it eventually leaves. It probably won't. It'll happen. The sun will not destroy everything, but the sun will inflate, and the Earth will be vaporized, probably within 1 billion years. So that'll happen way before. But the sun will inflate and then it'll collapse, but it'll be very quiet. It won't explode. Because the sun is too small for it to explode. What concerns you about the universe the most? people, we are the most remarkable things in the universe we know of. Human beings are the most remarkable things. We're the most amazing things there are in the universe, as far as we can see. And so, although the universe is vast and empty, we are something special. We are something amazing. We are something incredible. Why will it go away? What's pulling it away? Well, there's microscopic variations between the gravities of these two planets, of these two objects, right? The gravities are a bit weird and the orbit isn't perfect. And so there's microscopic variations that add up over time. Do you think the Nancy Grace Roman will help our knowledge? Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. It's going to do a lot for us, especially with dark energy. It's going to be amazing for science. It's not quite like the James Webb in terms of its power, like in distance. However, it has like a very wide view of the world, and with very specific wavelengths that tell us a lot about dark energy. Yeah, go check out my book if you haven't already. Bio, check the bio. When did I first start debating? 6 years ago. It's been a long time, folks. I've been doing this shit. And I'm happy I have the ability to speak my mind, and I'm happy that I have this opportunity to help other people. Very grateful for TikTok. Do you think God is a possibility? Depends what you mean by God, right? If you think God is a square, of course God's possible. If you think God is an omnipotent, that's where you get in trouble, right? When you start adding all these properties and theodicies and theologies and all this stuff you're adding to this being, he loves us, he died for us, he wants us to these 10 commandments. Like, once you start adding all that, it gets harder to defend, right? Because you have more to explain. And to me, it's just simpler to say, no, it's fucking nature. That's it, right? Just the natural world. I'm done. Just answering last questions. I like questions. What about people's souls? I don't know what a soul is, but I don't see any evidence for it. Check out my book. I talk about free will. I talk about all the things you need to know. Death is just a loss of consciousness. Yeah, that's what it seems like to me, guys. And I know it's scary, right? It's scary to imagine a world where you just die and that's it. You know, it's terrifying, and that's why we have invented religions. But the way I see it, I just accept that that might be a possibility. I'm open to other possibilities. I'm not closed off to a soul or an afterlife, but I'm just not convinced of it. And, you know, to me, it's like, why care so much about that when you can just live your life to your fullest and be the best you can and live such a great life, and you help so many people that you leave a legacy, right? You leave behind the world something good. You improve the world a little bit while you were here. I think that matters to me more than just getting an afterlife. And so my focus on my life is really focused on doing the best I can, to being the best person. I really want to make an impact on people's lives. I really want to help people. I really want to just do the best I can. Live my fullest life. You know, that's my focus. I don't spend time worrying about the afterlife, because if we don't have it, I'm okay with that. If we do, okay, that's also okay, you know. It's a very good position to be in, to not be attached to a specific outcome. Thank you, Lila. Okay, I understand you guys all want me to debate Jesus, whatnot. Sure, I'd be happy. If he asked me to, I would, but it's important not to just like become cultish and like, he's not the brightest person, right? He doesn't have the best arguments. Like I can easily defeat his arguments. That's why he wouldn't want to debate me. But look, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just finding the next person to idolize, right? That's all you guys are doing. You're just idolizing somebody, whoever you can, whoever's in the spotlight, you idolize it. That you have to be careful not to do that, right? Just because people say he's smart doesn't make it true, right? Just because people love him doesn't make him good, right? So just like be careful about that cultish mentality. He's a Catholic creator called Jaw or something. And he's like, you know, he's in the spotlight as a Catholic, but in 6 months from now, I'll be a different person. Right? This happens so many times in the past, right? So many different other Christians have been in the spotlight, and, you know, where do you think the matter created the Big Bang originally come from? Matter is just a particular state of energy, right? It was always there. The energy that makes you up was always there, even at the Big Bang. It was always there. It didn't get created, right? It was always there. It just transformed state. So, you know, at the Big Bang, the universe was hot, dense, mostly radiation. And so the energy was in that state, that very high energy state. Now, it lowered, right? Matter is the type of energy that condensed from that energy because the universe got colder as it expanded. And so we are that same energy, it's just at a different state. That's it. Oh man. Oh. All right, that's it.